they do it pre-tax or whatever, but we tax you on X amount of money. And so 1975, but I was in school full time, and they give you like only 1 week, 15 hours a week. I'm like, yeah. If only one person 15 hours a week, plus I had school and whatever else. At that time, I had French club,
live.
and I went back.
Hey, I was wondering when you were going to say that we are live.
That's
But
fine.
of course, as typical as with Social Justice Alchemy, the show starts in the middle of a sentence, and that's what they
Because
made
communism is an ongoing conversation.
That's right.
I could go with that.
Y'all can be you commie bastards. I'm a socialist, so I'm a socialist bastard. Socialist bitch, excuse me. So.
Oh, this is
No
America. There's no difference between the two in America.
Oh yeah. All Democrats are socialists.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, remember, according to some Republicans, Kamala is a communist, Marxist, Leninist who's running for president. So
she's a neo-Marxist Bolshevik.
Trump literally said he is a communist, Marxist, fascist.
Which means she's black. That just
Postmodern neo-Marxist. That's the anti-Semitic term. That's right.
She's not black. She just turned black. Remember? She just turned black.
She's a chameleon. She shapeshifted. Oh, and yes, by the way, that was Star Trek 6 that was playing on in the background.
Sweet.
The undiscovered country, yes.
Okay, so now my before we get into whatever we're getting into, my
Yes.
science fiction fandom. I mean, I like all of it, but even down to the Ice Pirates. Okay.
Nice pirates. Yes.
And Robert, what the hell was his last name? Robert.
Zemeckis?
No. Ulrich, I think. He was. He had like a TV show where he's a detective or something. He was in the Ice Pirates. But and if you ever seen the Hardware Wars?
Yes, I have seen Hardware Wars.
I love that one.
Yes.
But so, a lot of people are going to be like, oh my gosh, he's horrible. But, Star Wars is at the bottom of the heap. It's still good. Don't get me wrong. And
yes.
I hated and loved Rogue One.
Yes.
All the way up to like the last 5 minutes. Absolutely loved it. And like maybe 2 minutes at the very end, I loved it. But that 3 minutes in between. And if nobody's, I'm sure everybody's seen it, but just in case, I'm not going to give any spoilers. I loved it and hated it. Just like The Mist with Stephen King. Star Wars, and then Star Trek, and I would have to say Deep Space Nine first.
Yep.
And then a tie between Voyager and Next Generation.
Okay.
And then now these are the only ones I've seen. I haven't seen like Lower Decks or whatever. And then the original series. I had a huge crush on Spock. Way back in the day.
Yep.
Along with every other neurospicy girl in the world.
Right. And then above that, because one person made the mistake of A, testing my geekdom, and B, making the comment that the series I'm about to make was not for adults. It wasn't serious. It wasn't for adults. Okay. Well, excuse me. Then there's one more before that. Okay. Battlestar Galactica, the new version. Not with the one where the hell is the robot's name was. It looked like a dildo.
By your command.
Yep.
Everything's a dildo if you're brave enough.
Yes.
Close. There are a few things that I would suggest. No. But enough about cyber.
Obviously, you haven't seen Seven, starring Kevin Spacey.
Probably not. I don't want to see anything with Kevin Spacey. But anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. He is a villain though in that one.
But he said my series I'm about to name is not for adults who like science fiction, and I was like, why? He said because it's just childish and da 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 da.
Wanting a better future is childish.
I love Deep Space Nine. Don't get me wrong; it's my favorite of the series, but it's partly because it's like this. I have every single episode of Babylon 5.
My favorite is TNG.
I like TNG too.
Yep.
And then I have like some obsessions, like I don't know if y'all like Britcoms, but
Mr. Bean? You mean Mr. Bean?
well, yeah, that too. But I mean, like this series, the shows and whatever, like Pokey Towers and Blackadder and whatever. But Last of the Summer Wine is about 3 old retired farts and the trouble we get into. It was on TV for 37 years, and I have every single episode, and I know all of
5 episodes?
them. Yeah, but I think there's counting the Christmas specials and the other specials. I think there's like 200 and something. And then one of the main characters, one of the reasons they ended the show is because like half the original cast had died. You know, because they were middle aged in 1973 when it started. And Bill Owen played the character Campo. And at the time it was oh shit, what is his name? Peter Salas played Cleggy. And then he played Captain Peacock on Are You Being Served? Anyway, Frank Thornton. There you go. But Campo died in mid-season, like summer off or whatever. And so they were debating, Roy Clark is the main writer, and they were debating whether or not, as I get into geek here for a second, they were debating whether or not to write that into the show. Because like a lot of them, like Dame Edna, I forget her last, who died in reality, and her character moved to Australia. And they decided to write it into the show, and I bawled my ass off. So anyway, where the hell is my...
Sad news. Unfortunately, Owen McDonald got caught up with some family stuff, so he won't be able to join us right now. Who knows if he'll be able to join us later in the show. But right now, Owen McDonald's not coming in. But it's fine because like we got like a good show today. Well,
I'm going to be quieter than normal because I have had quite a week. Because Halloween, it turns out, just keeps on going.
Yeah.
And then I had a home game yesterday.
Much as I love Halloween, and I do, I started like the 1st of September. Okay, that's when Halloween season starts.
Yep.
You know, for me, Yule starts the 1st of November. I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I do Turkey Day because my family does Turkey Day, but other than that, whatever.
No, the like a National Day of Gluttony.
Hey guys, I know that Thanksgiving. I know a lot of us don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but since my birthday falls on the week of Thanksgiving, you can all celebrate my birthday instead. And I do like how Geek has his pilgrim hat on.
That we can do. Yeah, we can do.
It's not a pilgrim hat. That's a top hat. That's a Victorian hat. That's
Steampunk.
a racist hat.
There you go.
Maybe it'd be a pilgrim hat if it had like the buckle in the front.
Yeah.
The belt and the buckle.
You gotta have the buckle, okay?
Yeah,
and
you gotta
buckle on the shoes, you know.
Yes, and the shoes as well too.
And the smallpox blankets.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Gotta spread those diseases somehow. We have to have like a herb immunization for like everyone.
I'm trying to remember which comedian I was watching the other day. Might have been Christopher Titus. And he says, you know, the pilgrims got off the boat and they're like, what the hell are you doing here? He's like, no, you weren't here before. No, we lived here. We had, you know, their own ecosystem, whatever. And he's like, okay, look, my boys are in the boat and they came a long way. So like if y'all could just go back in the woods and pretend that you're not here. And somebody who's seen me the last time and whatever before knows, y'all have to interrupt me. I'm serious. Y'all have to interrupt me because I will monopolize the conversation like you wouldn't believe. I'm trying not to, but
we're trying to use it up with our old friend Little Arnold. She will cut everyone.
How is she doing, by the way?
I have like actually from when I last like seen at first, she seems to be all right. I have to like actually follow up with her on Facebook or anything like that.
She's married.
Little Arnold is our friend who, when like I first joined Social Justice Alchemy, Little Arnold's joined as well. She's Julie on Facebook.
She's French, so that tells you everything you need to know.
Oh,
Of course, we call her Yuli. Well, yeah.
Right, because the inside joke is like, hey, no, seriously, I had to explain. No. Our friends, Joey Edition had his name Joey, not Yoey. It was the inside joke because, like, our friend David Scott, who has been around immensely, our favorite troll, but he pronounced, because he's Swedish, he pronounced my name Jonathan as Jonathan, and that became
Right.
an inside joke.
Right. Or one of my friends, I always want to say at work, where I used to work. I retired almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
His name is Jonathan Perez.
Ah, yes.
And I just, and then I have a friend of mine. I worked third shift for 7 years at Wally World. Yay. And he came up with one time, because he's probably my best friend there. And but he every once in a while he still texts me because he still works third shift, saying that he misses me working there and whatever. I ain't going back. But so he called me something like that cheap old Irish drunk. And when he first said that, I said, well, okay, so leave my family out of this. And I said, so I started calling him that cheap Dutch bastard. 100%, he's born and raised in America, but 100% ethnic Dutch.
Hey GDP, how you doing? How's everyone else doing as well too? No, John Brockman's kind of tired because like he was driving a lot the home game yesterday and still home.
Also, small cold last week.
No, yeah,
Gotta be like that.
Luckily I don't often like I get like the debilitating cold that like I'm in bed.
That's because
all
you
week.
don't hang out with people. You hang out in the stockroom counting things.
Yeah. I'm alone in my room, so I can even go all the way back and like play a porn game on my phone. Not that I haven't done that. I swear. Make sure that no one's behind me. I'm back in the corner, so like no one unexpectedly sees what's on.
No
my
one
phone.
but the Babadook.
Yeah, there you go.
So Isaiah, how you been?
I'm good. I'm actually chiseling out windows for this whole section of this model kit that I'm building.
Ooh, nice. Wait, that's a model kit of one of the Enterprises. Which one?
So this is the Enterprise C, but I'm naming but I'm naming this but see, well, it's the Enterprise C kit. Actually, let me show you a picture of it. Hold on.
Sure thing. Hello, see you're cute, and like hello to like Bethel's grandson as well.
I still have, by your way, the pictures of your Titanic, and I've got them about half gimped. GIMP is the free version of Photoshop for those.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And because I put them like on a dark sea and whatever. You should show them if you got it handy. You should show them the Star Trek picture I did for you too. Trying to find where's my internet.
I don't have it on me. But yeah, so I'm building this kit, but but the ship's gonna be named USS Ishtar.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like my own ship.
Nice. Yes, I think so. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And check it. Yeah, see, let's see. Say that you posted those to like your Facebook, but I'm also going to check your like the cosplay crafts in case you also posted there. Well, no, you posted some awesome like your costumes are like, ooh, nice. I see the tricorder on your like Instagram photos. That's nice.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm a red shirt. I was a red shirt for Halloween.
Yes, and you survived. That's amazing. And you
there. I had to get the link because a friend of mine wants the link to the show.
Okay, no problem. I was wondering why I heard myself there for a bit, but that's okay.
Echo.
I got to concentrate. Speaking of concentrating, or like some of the topics I want to bring up. Oh God, with the elections still not over. It should be over soon, though.
In a week, 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, the voting will be over by Tuesday for sure. By end of Tuesday, voting should be over. Maybe some late absentees for the bulk of the voting will be over. But the election itself is not going to be over on Tuesday. No, it's not going to be over until like I predict
until
like,
Trump
December.
is dead or in prison.
Yeah, either one. It's probably
I'm
until
satisfied with either one.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't wish any violence on him.
Yes, exactly.
But I hope the motherfucker dies of an aneurysm. I don't care.
I hope he dies of chlamydia.
No,
that's
fitting.
Or dies in prison. He spent not he alone, because he ain't going to spend his money.
Yeah.
But he and the GOP spent over $20 million to put targets on the backs of people like me.
Yep.
Up and die.
And they opened concentration camps for brown people.
Yep. There's so much for the tolerant left. Like, yeah, the other side wants us dead.
Granted, like I said earlier, I'm not one of those evil socialists. I'm not happy with the Democrats either.
I did not vote for Kamala Harris.
But a lot of people unfortunately are in that situation.
Yeah.
And that's been pissing me off for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
I have to continually vote for the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, actually, it's like 1992. We had to go with Clinton, and it's just like, yeah, there was Ross Perot there that people could vote for, and people did.
I missed Dukakis.
All I know about Governor Dukakis is from the old SNL sketch that they would show for a 20th anniversary edition, political edition, and then Governor Dukakis is like, I'm sorry for that violent outburst, and it was totally monotone as well too. But I love the line at the end of it, as Governor Dukakis said, "I can't believe I'm losing this guy," referring to Bush Senior. You know what? Fair. How the hell did the Democrats lose to Bush Senior?
Well, probably because the CIA was busy murdering all the black people.
No, there's that. Yeah. So yes, we have this so those of us that where our votes matters in the swing states or any contestable states as well too, which is it's really going to come down to Wisconsin, Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio. There's probably another one or two there.
Right.
Florida.
North
Carolina,
Arizona.
Oh, and Georgia too.
Here's another thing that pisses me off about the mainstream, the liberal media.
Oh yeah.
You want an example of the liberal media? Look at Jeff Bezos. He just told the Washington Post that they can no longer recommend a candidate.
Yep. Yeah. Oh no.
The liberal media keeps calling Michigan a purple state. Now, I don't know every single person in Michigan, obviously.
I do, and they're all Democrats or racist. Or both.
What's that?
I know everyone in Michigan, and they're all Democrats or racists or both.
You're not too far off. But as far as being purple or whatever, there's a lot of areas that are. I live in a town of less than 8,000 people. Okay. And there's a town 10 miles to the north of us that's about 3,000 people that is 95% Caucasian. And it's as close as you can come without the actual literal designation of a sundown town. Okay?
Yeah.
So, however, in this town, I'm assuming in part because there's a college here, Fair State University, it's far more diverse. Even though when I graduated in '78, we had 2 black kids and they were brother and sister.
Yeah.
But as far as being, because I get distracted, what a surprise. As far as being purple goes, I don't think it's anywhere near as purple as what they claim. And I think a lot of areas, in large part, they do because if they don't create controversy, if they don't, tune in tomorrow to find out what happens next, or when you won't believe that Trump did this, or Kamala Harris is going to do that, or whatever, because if people don't tune in, they can't sell ad time as easily.
Oh yeah, that's what them. Yeah, the purpose of the media is just to sell ads as well too, and because of that.
Look at the last 9 elections, state elections. Okay, and a lot of them involving abortion rights, among others. Okay, but predominantly that. The Republicans won 1. Democrats won all the rest, and handily. It wasn't eking it out I think was it Ohio?
Think so.
Indiana, I forget which. Had a measure come up in August because the Republicans were trying to sneak it in there when most people don't, consider voting. It's either late July or early August. To try to change the referendum rule, because at that time a ballot referendum was you just had to have 50% plus 1 vote.
Right.
They wanted to change it to where it was 60% in every single county. Obviously for obvious reasons. Well, that got defeated because enough people pushed out the knowledge of it and whatever. That got defeated. And then when it came in the fall, the actual fall in November, in time for the vote, to enshrine abortion rights in the Constitution, I was like 75%, 80%, something. That was pretty high. Marty says, Ta-Nehisi Coates?
Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Tony has the
Coates,
Coates.
okay. Had a great interview with Palestine Eye and talked about the lesser of two evils choice. Goes back to at least Lincoln. Oh, yeah, yeah. And it pisses a lot of people like me off because, you know, okay, so, you know, oh my God, the Democrats are great, right? Okay, well, look at the Texas race, the Texas Senate race. You have Mr. Cancun himself, Rafael Cruz. Okay, I refuse to call that asshole Ted. Rafael Cruz.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's very transphobic, as is all of the GOP. I don't give a fuck who you're talking about. All of the GOP are. Either they say it out loud or they support people who say it out loud.
Yeah.
And then his Democratic opponent is Colin Allred, who's already posted transphobic bullshit on his page and in interviews. And I'm reminded of something I put on Facebook a long time ago. Okay. In 1939, German architects supported Hitler.
Yep.
In 1939, German construction workers supported Hitler. 1939, German cooks supported Hitler. 1939, German teachers supported Hitler. It didn't matter because they were racist. It didn't matter if it was because they wanted to make Germany great again.
Yeah.
It didn't matter because of economic or any other issues.
Historians have a word for those sorts of people.
Yes, Nazis.
Yep.
Exactly. So, Goddess Lucia says, reminds me of how last night I saw a clip from Daily Show where Stewart got angry asking if he could have just one goddamn Republican admit to what Trump is saying. Yeah, absolutely. Now, there are a few, but part of the problem is, you know, people are like, oh my God, Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney, you know, supported this, okay? Well, I think that's for three reasons. One, they hate Trump. Period.
Yeah.
They hate Trump. They don't hate his policies.
Yeah.
They hate Trump because he
exactly.
speaks that shit out loud.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
The racist, and misogynic, and transphobic, and whatever national bullshit, he speaks that out loud.
The Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney want to like the Republican Party to become a healthy Republican Party, much like what the Democrats want as well too.
Right.
Just be more like euphemistic with what they're saying and what they're doing, and be more presentable and presidential.
Dog whistles don't come right out and say the words.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the second thing I think is because look at all the blowback, all the pushback that's come since Trump started doing all this shit, like the Madison Square Garden fascist rally, okay, because that's what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was.
Talking about Trump's rally or the one back in the 30s?
Last message.
Both
of them.
Yeah.
It was going to be Trump's last message, and it was going to make him surge ahead in the polls. And then you had, I don't remember the asshole's name, I don't really care. Then you had this comedian who got up and was spouting a bunch of other shit as well, not just about Puerto Rico, but called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage.
Yep.
No, that's New York.
Now, and here's the thing. Okay, yeah, really. And here's the thing, okay? The Trump organization, the Trump campaign said, you know, we distance I don't remember the exact words. You know, there's a phrase that they use. I don't give a shit. But we distance ourselves from those words. You know, we don't. What's the word I want? We don't support those words. Whatever the phrase was they used. Okay. But here's the thing. Yes, they did, because he had jokes that they turned down. You know, he gave all the material ahead of time, and he had jokes that they turned down. That joke about floating island garbage was on the teleprompter. They authorized it. They allowed it. They accepted it.
Yep.
Wasn't it also something where they caught that someone was going to call Kamala like a C word and they got rid of that?
Same guy.
Yeah.
Not surprising. And
the audience would have loved it though.
Yeah, the audience would have loved it as well too. But just like you can't say the C word on TV.
However, if you watch the clip when he did the joke about Puerto Rico, not everybody liked it.
Yeah.
And well, I don't know if I can say that. I can say there are a lot of, you know, there wasn't the widespread applause and, you know, cheers and whatever that he thought was going to come. It was actually for a comedian sort of awkward.
Yeah.
For the reaction. Like some people in the audience, obviously, liked it, but nowhere near as much as he thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then all the pushback came back. I personally, I rarely make predictions because I'm usually wrong. So I'm not, what the heck is it? 438? I can't remember the name.
538. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not them. Okay. Although they've been around a few times too.
Oh,
But
yeah.
my prediction is that Kamala Harris is going to win. Or
Yeah.
Kamala Harris is going to win. All right. She's not going to win by landslide.
Yeah, it's going to be close.
I predict she's going to get about 60% of the vote, or very close to it.
Yeah.
Overall, obviously there's a few states here and there, whatever she's going to, she's not going to get it, and that type of thing.
Yep.
But I also think, it doesn't matter because Trump has already, from the time he started his campaign, basically said, if I don't win, it's rigged.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He has his lawyer team already preparing the lawsuits to and follow them on election
night. The lawsuits, just like last time, aren't going to go anywhere. They're just
exactly
not going to go anywhere. Okay, here's my thing. His documents case was put on hold, and the fraud case.
Because the Supreme Court gave him complete immunity.
Well, yes and no. Okay, they did and they didn't at the same time. But his punishment was put on hold. What's the word I'm looking for? Sentencing. It was put on hold until after the election. A lot of people are pissed off about that. But the judge, I think, unfortunately, rightfully so, said that if he gave Trump the sentence prior, that it could be construed as being, even though it wasn't, purely political. Okay? Yeah. The thing about the Supreme Court decision is that they technically did not give Trump 100% immunity. Okay, they said that he would have immunity for any act that was covered under presidential duties. Okay, the problem is that whatever the issue is, whether it's his stealing the documents because he stole them, motherfuckers, whether it's documents or whatever.
Yep.
That would then go back up to the court, and then they decide whether or not that is covered under his quote unquote job duties. Okay? Yeah. For example, with January 6th, he was technically still president. Even though the election had happened or whatever, until January 20th, he was president.
Yeah, exactly.
So if they can figure out some way to construe that as being in his job duties, he was just trying to do, make sure election security and blah, 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 how the right wing is going to go. A lot of people are, I hate to use the word left, a lot of centrists, okay, and some people on the left are warning about what would happen if, when Trump loses, okay, I know there's going to be violence, there's going to be this. I'm not saying there's not going to be, okay, there's already been quite a few, people have been burning drop
ballot boxes. Yeah.
Some poll workers too.
Right, exactly. But fuck the maggots. But just flat out. Okay. I'm tired of people going, oh well, we shouldn't do this or we shouldn't say that because it might have fuck them. Fuck them. I don't give a shit.
They don't censor their languages when they talk about us.
Nope. I remember that picture of the couple who had the t-shirts. I don't remember it said Trump on top. I believe it did. We had the t-shirts that said fuck your feelings. Well, fuck your feelings too, bitch.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm trying not to monopolize again.
It's
okay.
He stay at the kitchen.
Well, yeah, and it's and as you also mentioned and alluded to, that how Jeff Bezos, owner of the Washington Post, mostly Dyson Donkus, superseded his editorial staff and the chief and stuff like that, and say no, we're not the endorsing Kamala Harris and going with no endorsement, and that's just kind of shows. It reminds me of Behind the Bastards that Robert Evans did a couple of months ago as well too, of how liberal media supports fascism as well too, and it's like it's kind of what was true then is like it's not true now. And I think like Jeff Bezos is trying to do a calculus as where too is just like, well, if like Trump does get into office, they could like censor the Washington Post and something like that. And so that's why it's again big business supports fascism as well too. Is that like a book
Right.
from the 1940s or 1950s like demonstrate?
No,
And
and
like,
he wants to get in on the side of let's say Trump does win, okay. Oh well, I wasn't really, opposing you. I was just trying to do it so that, I wouldn't get in trouble with the liberals and the lefties and the communists and the socialist, Marxist, fascist, and okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think, I've shown the picture before on my Facebook. I think we should have bagel slicers.
Yeah, but also the Los Angeles Times again like superseded like his editorial staff or something like that. Also like did not endorse Kamala Harris, and like I think both Washington Post and Los
Kamala.
Angeles Kamala,
Kamala, like
Kamala, Kamala, Kamala. I'm sorry,
Camelot.
Camelot. Camelot, Kamala. I don't know why I can't pronounce it. Anyway, the Harris, the Vice President Harris,
I can't call my R's for Spanish, so don't take too much offense. Because whenever I get is always.
But what were you saying about Harris?
It is the loss. It's just yeah, I don't understand like that decision by Jeff Bezos with the head of Los Angeles Times and stuff like that because they lost leadership and like lost a lot of like staffers over that decision as well too. But like yes, just goes to shows that like sometimes big business just like supports it's like fascism as well too. So that's why I'm also not interested in big business.
Always, not sometimes.
Riverboat Jack was like talking about this today. She seems to like think the election may be like close as you think in Harris's favors. Yeah, it's going. I'm cautiously optimistic that Harris will win. But it's going to be like close. It's going to drag out, and there's like, and there's it seems like even with like what Joe McGorry said is like either like they're preparing. Some of the like advertisements is not necessarily preparing for like a Trump win or to fight for Trump to be put in power, but also like a potential crystal knock event
Right.
as well too, which is kind of scary.
Another beer gut putsch.
Yes.
Metro says Riverboat Jack was talking about this today. She seems to. I like Riverboat Jack, by the way. You should check her channel out.
Okay.
She seems to think the election may not be as close as you think in Harris's favor. I agree. Again, not a landslide, but I'm going to say between 57 to 60%, somewhere around there.
Hey,
and obviously it'll vary from state to state and whatever. But.
Hey, Aaron, do you think Harris is going to win your state?
Yeah, I do. I think I think that's going to be the upshot here. I think it's because like they're neck and neck or whatever. Okay, but Harris might eke out a win of 2 or 3 points. No, I think it's going to be more than that. Now maybe she'll only get 55 and Trump will get 50, or maybe she'll only get 47 and Trump will get 52 and Trump will get 47. But I'm predicting, I could be wrong, that she's going to be at least 4 to 5 points ahead of him in this state. Too many people. We've had a blue governor. We had a blue wave. Not the last election, but the one before that. We also kept blue, but so we got not only a Democratic governor and lieutenant governor, but also Democratic, Secretary of State, Attorney General, etc. And everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's horrible," and especially during the pandemic when you had asshole militia. I can't remember which particular one it was that were busted for plotting to kidnap.
The Wolverine Watchmen.
Yeah. And of course they're in federal jail now. Yeah. But that was over the whole mask mandate and whatever, during the COVID pandemic, which is still going on, by the way.
Yeah.
Many people are dying every day from COVID. It's still going on.
Yep.
Yes. Regardless of the fact that Biden and the CDC have said, it's nowhere near as bad. And okay.
They stopped reporting on the numbers, yeah.
Joe says, I'm expecting her to take Wisconsin, but mostly hoping that the state assembly finally turns blue with the new districts. Yeah, and the thing about Wisconsin is that the before she even took office, is what happened was with the gerrymandering and whatever. It's been really hard for Wisconsin Supreme Court to turn liberal, and it's been 5 conservative, 4 liberal for a long time. Just like here in Michigan, Republicans had control of either the House or the Senate or both, and the governorship for almost 40 years. And finally, enough people said we've had enough of this shit, that it got turned around. And so she got elected, because they do that in Wisconsin. And it was, now it's 5 liberal and 4 conservative. She hadn't even taken office yet. And they sued her to impeach her on the grounds that, she had made comments in her election campaign that she was, no matter what happened, she was going to vote pro-abortion. But then it's okay for, Kavanaugh and, Amy Coney Barrett and all the rest of the assholes on the Supreme Court, to do that. Like when they kicked out Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like for example, and it has real impact on a lot of people. Myself, for example. To make it a couple of, because all this stuff is on my open Facebook. 2000 and was it 18 or 19? I believe 19. Excuse me. The Secretary of State had a press conference here in Michigan. Jocelyn Benson is her name. Dana Nessels, our Attorney General, and said that, among other things, it wasn't just about this, but said that they were going to change the process for changing the gender marker on your license or ID. Prior to this, it was you had to have a passport, you had to have a state license or ID from another state, a doctor's letter, you had to poll the audience, phone a friend, whatever, not from your mom.
You have to live for 10 years as your preferred gender. Right. And then you have to pat your tummy and rub your head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a whole bunch of gatekeeping bullshit. So they said, we're going to change that. And we're going to make it, in the future, we're going to make it so that you pay $10, you fill out a 1-page form, and you take your picture, and that's it. And so a reporter asked her, because a lot of times this was, I think, in October or November. We had this press conference, and she'd been, Secretary of State for almost a year. And, so a reporter asked her when this was going to take place, because a lot of times, it'll take place the first of the year or whatever. When's it going to take place? And she said today. So I found that out, and about a week later, I went down and changed the gender marker on my state ID.
Nice.
And then I got enrolled in Medicaid, Michigan Medicaid, which I absolutely love. I retired in December of 22, so like a few months after that, I got initiated. Yeah, I was initiated. I got enrolled in the Michigan Medicaid. And as a consequence, I had bottom surgery last week.
Nice.
Michigan Medicaid pays for electrolysis, therapy, HRT, hormones, and other meds, okay, and surgery for people like me. So I had bottom surgery. My copay for therapy is $0. My copay
nice.
on medications is $0, with the exception of I do an injection once a week, and I have to buy the needles, which is like for a year's supply is like $15.
Okay.
For my blood pressure meds, all the rest of my crap, my copay is $0. My copay for the surgery itself, $0.
Nice.
So voting blue, unfortunately, there's a lot of shit that I don't like about blue.
Yeah.
It has on the ground impact for people like me. It saves lives of people like me.
Yeah.
So then you have that aspect of it, and then this bullshit in Palestine.
Yeah.
It's a genocide, period. Okay. And I'm not saying that I can speak for Jewish people anymore. Okay. I was a Orthodox Sephardic Jew for almost the better part of a decade. Okay. So most liberal to most conservative. You start out with humanist. And except for the last one, there are a lot of atheist Jews.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, what? Okay, so you start out because it's cultural,
Yeah.
ethnic. So you start out with humanist, then you go to reform, then you
Mm-hmm.
go conservative, then you go to orthodox, which I was. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Hadassah, which is the headscarf,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had the Hasidim, which we used to call penguins, because they wore black and white, and they got the hats, the fur hats and whatever.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of Jewish people. I'm not going to say all of them. I'm not going to say a majority of them or a minority, but just that I know that there are a lot of Jewish people that I know personally who are dead set against our policies in Palestine. There are a lot who are for them as well. My guesstimation, complete guesstimation, I could be talking about out my ass, is that probably slight majority in this country that are for them. But there's a lot of people that have been protesting against our policies in Palestine.
Yeah.
I'll add to that. I'll add to that. So when Trump moved the embassy to Jerusalem, it was actually more Christians actually supported that than actual Jewish Americans did.
Yep.
And the only reason why we support that is because a lot of our politicians are Christians. They're Christian cultists that think this is where the world's gonna end. It's utterly like bonkers that people are in our government that believes this nonsense.
Right.
It's like putting the Manson family in charge of the government and thinking that
You're not far off.
What?
I don't think a lot of the politicians believe it, to be honest. I think that they want people to think that they do.
Yeah.
I've mentioned this on my Facebook too. For over the first 30 years of my life, I was racist, misogynistic, queerphobic, and self-loathing, of course. White Christian, evangelical, Pentecostal, Assembly of God, nationalist. Very horrible person. Just flat out, very horrible person. Done a little bit of changing over the years. But I can tell you from being in that cult, and a lot of people have found to their chagrin that, because I read the Bible every once in a while, still. A lot of people have found their chagrin that I know more about the Bible than probably 95% of any Christians I've ever met.
Yeah.
And a lot of atheists too. I am an atheist, and I'm also religious. I'm a Celtic pagan, which blows a lot of people's minds. But like in my church when I was growing up, when I was 14, we literally had a bonfire to burn rock records. We had speaking in tongues, dancing in the aisles, laying on hands, oil anointing, and just I know people who go to that church, and from the time I was 4 or 5, we started going to that church until today. No person of color has ever stepped across their door hole, their threshold into that church. Period. Very, 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 very racist. Come out, I'll say it, of course. But the only reason they support Israel, as far as they're concerned, Jews are the ones who killed Christ.
Yeah.
They're Christ killers. The only reason they support Israel is because in the Bible, in Revelation, by the way, it's Revelation, not Revelations. In the Bible, Israel has to be existent for Armageddon to happen because it's a death cult.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's like having Charles Manson as head of the government. If you understand what these evangelicals think, it's no different than Shamrikio, it's no different than Waco, it's no different than any of these other cults that we've demonized in history. It's just this is a cult that we accept because humans have to draw the line somewhere, and it's like I rather the guy tell me that God is gonna kill us all than some kooky guy with pink hair. I don't know. It's weird, but I have my hand raised. I am a V'gerist.
You're a what?
I'm a V'gerist.
That's Star Trek 1, the motion picture.
Yeah. So,
because I have processing issues. Number 1 and number 2, I lost about 50% of hearing in both ears from being in the military. And I thought you said veganist, and I was like, okay.
No,
The church nothing against vegans who aren't even vegans. Okay.
Oh, right, yeah, exactly.
We do have a temple, V'gers. We have a temple. It's called JPL the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. If you do with what they did in that Planet of the Apes movie where caution live animals, and you decide, and then you took Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, Chappelle. Okay, I'll shut up because John's about
Yeah,
to he's
Dave
about to
Chappelle. Dave Chappelle can kiss my big wood Irish ass. Flat out.
yeah. John's about to yell nerd, so I'll stop talking.
Yeah, I am also a ordained minister in the Universal Life Church. And I've
My
done
curse
nerd.
upon Dave Chappelle that every 5 minutes for the rest of his life he stubs his toe.
Can we hex him too as well?
People have been criticized on Twitter. I refuse to call that shit X, and it is
Yeah,
shit. Okay,
Mhm.
if you want something like Twitter that's better, not perfect, but it's better, go to Blue Sky.
Yeah.
But people have been criticized on Twitter for saying things like, and saying for that fucking English author, I can't stand that bitch, but for saying things like, I wish all the things that they want to happen to trans people, or they want to happen to queer people, to happen to them.
Mhm.
Oh my God, you're horrible and you're inciting violence, and they don't realize what they're saying.
Yeah.
I swear, some people's kids.
Yes, exactly. But like there was also like something else that was like happening in the world, believe it or not, like Twitch is still being Twitch and like doing some things as well too. I'm just gonna leak in a live chat for like others to like watch after the fact as well too. But like now Twitch has changed their policies again, but this time about like how streamers have to like label or flag their like streams. Before you had to like flag your streams if you like have excessive like profanity or vulgarity, gambling, or like violence, or like graphic depictions, drugs, intoxication, or excessive tobacco use, that sort of thing too. Sexual content and sexual themes. This is like they even after they changed the like the rules to with the new meta, but before that you had to flag your streams for the sexual content if you happen to be like naked or seem to be naked. Again, you mostly get was top boob anyways, like that. And your streams will automatically flag if you are playing a mature rated video game. But now there's another category that like you have to like label for politics and sensitive issues. Okay, I'm fine with that about the politics parts. Like if you're showing like doing live streams of protests, rallies, or civil unrest, or like government policies. If you're discussing the news that's happening in Gaza, I can see why they want those streams to be like flagged as well too. There's already a politics category there.
I wonder when they're gonna do what they do on Twitter and claim that the word cisgender is a slur.
Well, but also, so also discussing included in the same paragraph about like politics and sensitive social issues. It's discussing military conflicts and then foreign policy decisions. Yeah, like if you're reporting on Gaza. But discussions discussing ideological or social political views on topics like gender, race, sexuality, or religion. Discussions and discussing legislation issues to sensitive social issues such as reproductive rights, LGBTQ plus rights, or immigration.
Now, do they is it just that you have to give a warning?
You have to like mark your stream as like this is
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
but pretty much, yeah, it's kind of like acts as a warning as well too. Warning: viewer discretion is advised. Sexual themes or whatever else as well too. But that how that will affect your stream though is that now I think if you like mark any of those like things, but it used to be like for sure if you did mark it for like of sexual themes, you won't be shown on the front page. Yeah, people complain when the new meta was the thing. They're like, "Oh my god, there's nudity on Twitch." It's like, no, that's not the case. Okay, a chick is showing off her top boob. Get over yourself, please.
Oh my god,
but
she has a neckline.
Right. I also wonder with the YouTube algorithm, for example, I know in general, okay, I don't know every single thing of the algorithm because I don't work for YouTube. But in general, if you swear within the first 60 seconds, they can get you knocked down in the algorithm.
yeah, I heard that too.
If you again discuss these issues like this or whatever, there's certain words like grape that you can't use, etc. Things like that.
Palestine.
Fascist.
Right, genocide, whatever. Same for Facebook. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything
Not that they
related to
won't,
related to
depending
queer
on
content.
how you phrase it, it's not that they won't necessarily, it's not that they'll necessarily, force you to delete the post or whatever,
Yeah.
but they knock that down on the algorithm.
Yes, exactly.
So believe me, there's a lot of ways that you can get around that. Okay.
You like saying happy instead of gay.
Well, yeah, or for example, I have a list that I post every once. There's probably 50% of the content creators that I follow on Facebook are people of color content creators.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have had like over 15,000 subscribers, and Facebook just suddenly deletes their page for no reason whatsoever. They don't tell them why, nothing. So they all have backup pages.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I will say something on my page, and no problem. No, you got to delete that, or are you sure you want to say that or whatever? Nothing. But yet, if it's a person of color who does the same thing, they'll get dinged for it. They'll get that post removed. They'll get whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've made a list. There's probably about 20. I can't remember all of them, but because if you spell out the word white like it's supposed to be spelled, a lot of times that can get you dinged as a person of color. So I have phrases like, blind you when I wear shorts, Mayo American, the fair and the fragile, milk skins, alabaster, spelling it different ways, obviously. Betty Cracker, Wonder Bread, BRED. It's on my Facebook. I have a whole list of stuff, and we'll, because we always do that thing at the end where, if you have a Facebook or whatever.
Mayonnaise or something like that.
There's probably about 20, and they're not all of my origin.
Yeah.
But every time that I post it on, every time that I post it on a person of color's page, or on some of my followers who are Caucasoids,
yep.
They will add to the list, and I have no problem with that. And many people have thanked me, and it's not like it's a huge deal. On their part, but many people have thanked me because they'll go. I'll go through. When I post it, I'll then see who says whatever after that to add to the list, and then I print the entire list out so they can just copy paste.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, there's the people of color, but then you look at Facebook. Fuck calling it Meta.
Yeah.
Facebook, by the way, I at least once a day say fuck Facebook and tag them. I don't give but that whole picture of Goofy goes, I'll fucking do it again. I every day I say always punch Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. Remember, like, at least
No. Always be very, very friendly. Use pillow hands with Nazis.
Oh well, see, I say
pillows with
Nazis.
stuff
I've been doing that for 2 or 3 years. I don't give a fuck. Always punch Nazis. Because they ding me for stuff that has nothing to. Okay, so I write everything: steampunk, horror, science fiction, fantasy.
Yeah.
Okay,
all the good
when
stuff.
I wrote satire. I wrote a satirical version of the Three Little Pigs called Bob, Hob, and Nob versus the Banks of the Piddleston River. And for example, there's a realtor who's trying to sell the House of Twigs to Bob, Hob, and Nob, the three pig brothers, and she talks about how it's made of the finest organic twigs from the banks of the Piddleston River, who uses non-GMO pesticides and blah blah blah. Okay. So I posted like the first 4 paragraphs. I took a nap because I'm old. Take a nap. Got up and I got a 30-day ban.
You got zooped.
What the fuck? I'm like, okay, now I can post in Messenger and stuff. Yeah. So a lot of my friends help me out. I would make a post. I can read Facebook. I just couldn't post on it. Couldn't post it, whatever. So I was doing my regular show at that time, #hippies. The really mouthy. You think I'm mouthy now? Okay. So
you talk so much, you should get your own show.
Right. Well, one of my episodes was called "Top 10 Reasons Why Autism Speaks," and Sesame Street can fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
So, where was I? God, I hate ADHD.
Facebook. You used to, when you get a 30-day ban, your friends will help you post on it.
Okay, so I got a 30-day ban, took a nap, woke up, I'm like, what the fuck? So did whatever. So I went back to bed that night. Okay, woke up in the morning and the 30-day ban was gone. It was rescinded. And I'm like, what? I have also got a 3-day ban in Messenger. They didn't say how long it would be, but it ended up being 3 days because a friend of mine and I were discussing certain demographics that tend to be that tend to write letters to serial killers in prison and marry them, and how is a particular demographic that was melanin challenged. Okay. But I didn't use those words. I used the outright words, and I like within 60 seconds got a 3-day ban. And didn't tell me. I had to go back in the conversation like 5-10 minutes. Like, what the hell? You know, before I finally figured out what it was. So yeah, Facebook can fuck off. So can Zuckerberg.
Yeah. But no, yeah, like so, like, and the thing is, like, there are some like when you improperly label your stream and will not label it, so they do say it's like, well, what about like intermittent mentions of like this sort of thing? No, if you happen to be playing like Fortnite or like Borderlands and stuff like that, and you mention that you're trans or you have tags in it, and talk about, yeah, I'm trans, like intermittent like mentionings about that won't like require you to like flag your like stream to be for political or sensitive social issues. Again, being trans or LGBTQI plus or reproductive rights or immigration should not be socially sensitive issues, but like the bro flakes of the fascists and reactionaries make it so that like people's rights are social sensitive issues, but like regardless. But the thing is, like, what's the problem is that, like, well, what if like people start asking questions about being trans, knowing that you're a trans like streamer or two, then becomes a discussion, a impromptu discussion on the stream. It happens all the time on my stream, anytime like impromptu discussion about politics and that sort of thing too, and I welcome that. But like now, I guess according to these rules, you should like mark your streams for like either mark your streams or all your streams for sensitive social issues if you're trans and talk about trans issues or like queer issues or like all those other issues and that sort of thing too, reproductive rights and such, or try to avoid the topic altogether, which is like for some streamers, no, I don't want to avoid the topic of being trans because I want to talk about being trans and that sort of thing too. And especially sometimes it does come up when you're just playing Final Fantasy like 14, for example, because like there's a whole drum up. It's from the bro fakes, all those like same bro fakes, Gamergate kind of crowd that like they were just like downvoting the latest expansion of Final Fantasy 14, all because like a character was voice acted by a trans woman. That's it. And she did a great job. Everyone that like plays the expansion loves like her role and the character and her acting in that as well too. But like, oh god, a trans person, no, devil, no, woke media, and that sort of thing too. Kind of like how they finally realized that in the Dragon Age games they have like queer people in it and stuff like that, and so apparently the bro figs are just like complaining about the latest Dragon Age games. It's just like, no, the BioWare, for all their faults, they always include the queer like representation in their games. So like the latest like
It's
Dragon
often
Age
hidden
game,
though.
yeah, true, is often him. Like I said, they still have like there's still issues with that, but like it's just like it's not new, or it's not, they didn't suddenly gone woke. And it's just like, but nope, broflex will be broflex, and they're just like they're as fragile as they claim that we are.
I've played probably, God, I'm trying to remember when I started playing online games. I want to say it was 2001, 2000, something like that. So over the last 25 years, 1999, whatever.
Yeah.
I've played probably 30 MMORPGs. It's my favorite. And I'll tell you right now, there are two that are queer as possible above everything else. One is Final Fantasy 14 Online, okay, which I love. I played that for a year. And the other is ESO, or Elder Scrolls Online. And the thing I like about, because there's a lot of fan fiction for Final Fantasy Online, especially the Admiral, okay, because she can top me anytime. But anyway, so believe me, I have a huge crush on that character. But with ESO, with Elder Scrolls Online, there are queer characters, lesbians, gay, okay, trans. They're just part of storylines. They don't make a big deal out of it. They don't announce it. They're like, look at this person who's gay and how woke we are. It's just part of the storylines. My character's been married multiple times to multiple different genders and sexes, whatever. But you know, and I'm not perfect in the game. I don't know every single thing, but I have over 7,000 hours in the game.
No. My friend Littlequin passed gas on like the show, and actually I've been trying to raise money for Littlequin and that's Neko because like they were planning to like just like get $2,000 over a long enough time because of like doing for home improvements and like house improvements and like that sort of thing. But they want to ramp up some of that like fundraising because like two of their steps on like the stairs up to their like office space for when they stream are wearing out and like might fall out and stuff like that. So they want to like get that like a fix as well too. And then that's Neko like last week or like last Friday, someone that dropped her phone. And she has like chronic issues and something like that. So sometimes things will fall on her hands because so she can't hold things well too, including her phone one time. And so I did give them the $220 like dollars on Friday to like to go towards the cost of like replacing the phone because fortunately that phone they still have to make payments. So hopefully Verizon is like good enough to just swap out the phone with another phone the equivalent and continue the payment plan and such so like that. I feel for now because like going to places and talking to other people. It's like being autistic and autistic trans woman too. Oh, autistic Latina trans woman, dark skinned trans woman too, and like in rural Wisconsin. So it's like, yeah, but like hopefully the all goes well as well too. But like, but Liquid has played a lot of ESO online and definitely has like talked about that as well as like on their stream about like the queer representation in there as well too. And again, it's nice that like it's not a big deal. They're just there as well too.
Think about getting the game Star Trek Legacy for Xbox 360 for the holidays.
Ooh, Star Trek
That is a
Legacy.
thing you can do.
I think the only like Star Trek like game I played, well, there was a phone game that I played because like my friend Littlequin was again like doing the sponsorship of the game, but like in doing when you have to do those sponsorships, you have to like hope that other people, your viewers, will play that game through, and they click and download the thing for your link and stuff like that, and have to get to a certain point. Unfortunately, doing that campaign for like that like Star Trek game as well too. Yeah, Littlequin cannot be critical of the game whatsoever.
But wait, I thought snort, you guys hated buying stuff because you were all socialist snort.
Right. As far as the phone goes, now I have AT&T, you know, different services do different things, obviously, but I have AT&T, and I had a Samsung Galaxy A32, and I owed like no, it's maybe $150 left on it. You know, it's $15 a month, whatever, that's fine. And so I got a trade-in on that. I traded it in, got $150 off, and I got a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5, which is over $1,000 phone. Okay. And I play because I have a secondary app that I can get internet through. Because you know, hey Rich. But anyway, so I played ESO through my phone. It's a really good. Well, and I have a really good laptop too.
Yeah.
Also, you know, I'm trying to hit these 3 topics because otherwise I'll forget them. For like trans and whatever, I have a design a graphic. It's a Venn diagram, which is one of my favorite things to make. Okay, and they have the 3 blocks on the side, which are trans, autism or autistic, and then ADHD, and they're all red, and it's just one red circle. Not everybody, obviously. Hashtag not all trans. And then the last one is I like the new movies, and everybody will know what I mean in a second. I like the new movies, and I wish they would base them off that, not the original one. But I wish they made a good 3D MMORPG of Dune. Okay. It's my other obsession. I have all 26 books, plus the 13 subsidiary books that are about each individual, a bunch of the individual characters.
I didn't know there were that many books about hunting demons on Mars.
I have all 26 on in paperback. I have them in ebook form, a couple different versions, and then I have them all in audiobook form. Scott Brick is my favorite audiobook narrator, but there are others.
Yeah.
But the reason I say the new movies is because they took Frank Herbert's. I mean, literally, he you know refused to go to the wedding of a relative. He was homophobic as shit.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Why, that's why the Baron in the original books was a pedophile.
Yeah.
And, because
Mhm.
all gay people are pedophiles, apparently.
Mhm.
The problem is, like Robert Heinlein, Isaac
Mm.
Asimov, Isaac Asimov and Robert Heinlein, in my opinion, are two of the greatest storytellers / science fiction writers of the 20th century.
Yep.
And mentioned this before, Heinlein was misogynistic and queerphobic as fuck.
Mhm.
You obviously have not read his books. Okay, and
Mhm.
what I'm just talking about, they called them the juvenile books, books for like
Yeah,
10 to
yeah.
12,
Yeah.
10 to 12-year-old boys, obviously.
Yeah.
But time is for love, or a time for love.
Time enough for love.
Yeah, time enough for love. There you go. And the moon is a harsh mistress. I mean, at one point, there's a rebellion on the moon, and
Yep.
one of the girls in the extended family, her name is Ludmilla,
Mhm.
was 12 years old, and instead of saying she got shot in the chest, he said she got
Shot between her lovely little girl breasts.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so Heinlein can fuck off.
Wow.
But at the
Oh,
same
yeah.
time, and it's online, you can easily find it and read the entire short story for free. When I choke up every time I read The Long Watch. I mean, he's just a beautiful writer. But what's the other one? It's got the Man from Mars and Yuval Harshaw.
Stranger in a Strange Land.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, very homophobic and
Yeah.
misogynistic, and just
Yep.
some beautiful writing there.
Yeah. The thing is, he was progressive for his time, in that he talked about, when I was a kid, or his characters would occasionally say, when I was a kid, we fooled around, didn't like it, went played tennis.
Mhm.
So I think that he probably he had some same-sex attraction and wrestled with that, is what I'm thinking.
He also ran for the Senate as a right-wing Republican.
Doesn't surprise me.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So
He was pretty hardcore libertarian.
Oh, yes.
Very Goldwater style.
Yes.
Isaiah,
Yes.
can you share an image?
You can share an image if you want.
I think let's see. Right now sharing is not turned on.
It's not?
Okay.
Send a request for
there
it
we
to be
go.
shared.
Yeah, so I mean, I can send the image to you if you want.
No, now you can share. Maybe.
Okay, so give me a second here. I gotta find the image. So
Mhm.
go ahead, Yak.
This is talking amongst yourselves. I'll say this as well with Robert Heinlein. Always. I not even have read the original book whatsoever, but what I know about it is just like I would much prefer the movie Starship Troopers over the book Starship Troopers, because at least the movie recognized it's a satire. The book didn't.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a satire as much as, I mean, there's some satirical elements in it, and I like the book. Don't get me wrong, but it's just as pro-fascist. That's the movie did. It just did some weird shit in the movie, because like it's misogynistic, because like in the book, on spaceships, they have separate quarters for men and women.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie, they showered together.
Yep.
Yeah. The book was not a satire at all. I think he was exploring the idea, and I think he honestly thought that only veterans should rule, because veterans have sacrificed. And
he also talked about the joys of whipping kids. I mean, that wasn't exactly how he phrased it, but
spanking kids is the only way to properly discipline them. Yeah.
And actually whipping, not just spanking. Literally whipping kids, high school kids.
It's called discipline, and it's like, yeah, fuck that noise.
Yeah.
Kind of funny that they always want to talk about beating children for discipline, but discipline is, and I don't believe in spanking, but discipline is not just giving a timeout or whatever, okay, but it's also reward.
Yeah.
If a child does something well, or even tries to do well, okay, you don't have to be perfect. Motivation, that's a what?
That's paddling.
Oh,
We got you. It's all about control. It's not.
It was small enough I couldn't because my eyesight sucks.
Yeah.
Getting old sucks, but it beats the alternative.
Mhm.
I couldn't read it. So where the hell is this? Okay, I'm still looking for the picture.
Getting old is not as great a reward as you would expect for all the years it takes to get there.
However, I also agree with one I saw on Facebook. The memes are good on Facebook. The rest of it sucks, but the memes.
Yeah,
are good. Living is like a video game, and so I'm level 64 right now.
yeah. Listen,
And you transition to hard mode later in life.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I upgraded.
Growing old is mandatory. Growing up though is optional.
I'm growing older, but not up. My metabolic rate is pleasantly stuck. Let those winds of time blow over my head. I'd rather die while I'm living than live while I'm dead.
Yesterday,
Jimmy Buffett.
all my troubles seem so far away. All right, where are you, you wee bastard? I know you're in here somewhere.
Okay. The yesterday song by the Beatles, I like that song, but I became familiar with that song because of anime music video that like a fan made of like using that song with like Cowboy Bebop. I still like that music video because like it's like was covering like kind of the tragedy of like oh man, I forgot the like woman's character, not Faye Valentine, but like the former love interest of like Spike Spiegel's like past as well too. Yeah, she shows up in the final episodes of the series as well too. And yes, spoiler warning: Spike Spiegel dies at the end, like Cowboy Bebop.
How do you want me to send this picture to you?
You can. We have our.
Can I share it?
Yeah, you can share it.
You can share it.
Cool. I'm more conversant with YouTube than I am with Zoom because I haven't used it really in a long time. So, share. Dun, 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 dun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, what? Oh, application windows. No, I want the entire screen. Okay, so give me a second here.
Yeah, you gotta pick the like right screen as well too. Oh,
right. Why you gotta be like that?
I don't know. I don't know why.
Complicated enough as it is. Okay. I'm ADHD, so look, you piece of crap. Okay, so let us. I go to desktop. I hate my computer. I hate my computer. I would throw it through the window, except that 4 years ago, I bought this laptop and paid $1,500 for it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I knew I wasn't, I was 61 at the time. 60 at the time. I wasn't going to buy another one. Didn't really need another one. It's got a 1660 Ti GeForce NVIDIA video card, 32 gigs of RAM, and octa-core 2.5 gig CPU. So for gaming and stuff, it's a Pavilion gaming laptop.
Yes.
Let's see, open with Paint. I guess that'll work. Okay. You can share the window.
Yep.
Okay, so I got that open. Wo ist meine Share-Stuff? Oh wait, I see what I did. I sort of Minnie Mouse the window. Okay, for Zoom. Okay, so share right there, you wee bastard.
There we go. Oh yes, there's Isaiah's like a costume. You this time with a blue shirt, but again, I love the tricorder.
Thanks. Do you guys want to know where I got that from?
Yeah, sure.
So I went to Tampa Bay Comic-Con back in 2017 and I bought it for $50.
Nice.
How long ago did I make this for you? It's been a while, hasn't it?
I think it was last year because I wore it last year, I believe. Yeah. Last Halloween.
I think that's I think that's when, so a year-ish, whatever,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've slept since then, but oh, okay. But yeah, so no, I don't want to save it because I've already got it saved. Go away. I have kind of a not running gag, just not the word I want. I have a running offer for my Facebook. If somebody wants to do any sort of picture like that, if I'm capable of doing so, send it to me. I'll do it for free. I don't care.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I agree, Lucy. That is pretty cool. Yeah, yeah, and like some of those other like photos of like Isaiah Taylor's like cosplays and other things too is on this Instagram, like the cosplay scraps. And also, if you want like contact Isaiah for whatever things that you want to as well, too, there you go. You can find Isaiah on like Facebook, or you can also find Isaiah Taylor on like no, I said no. You can follow that link on there to his Instagram
Hey,
for
it's
like the
Owen.
cosplays for. Oh my God, we are joined by Owen McDonald.
One of
No,
those things. I got one more to share with you, so go ahead. Well, I'm
Sure.
trying to find
I'm so sorry I was so late.
It's
Hey,
okay.
Just
you're dealing with shit.
You're
family
fired.
stuff, eh?
Yeah, family stuff.
Sign your last paycheck over to me. I want all your chocolate.
Oh,
That's racist.
Oh my God, there's Isaiah you met before, but now here's hashtag not all hippies.
Hello, it's a pleasure to meet you and see you again
Hello.
as well. As
I detect a island accent,
This.
Yes, it is a specific island, absolutely.
which is awesome. I have probably 30 friends over there.
Really?
On Facebook and whatever. Yeah. Most of them are in Dublin, or London. One of my friends, we were talking earlier about TV series and Star Trek and whatever. One of my friends sent me a refrigerator magnet. It is put in the place of honor on the middle of the my freezer door. And you probably know this, the others might. It's a picture standing together of Campo and Nora Batty. And they're the two of the main characters from Last of the Summer Wine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, Owen, how have you been doing?
Very busy. My the family thing wasn't like a bad family thing or anything. It was just time consuming and
Yeah.
it in a nice way, if that makes sense, but just it sort of sprung up on me a little bit. Like I was a bit caught out. It's a very nice hat you're wearing, by the way. I was thinking like what's different from yesterday's call, but in fact several nice hats actually in this one. I'm looking at hashtag not all hippies. Very, very nice hats. But no, I've got a very busy schedule now, basically from now until Christmas. So
university and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a busy old time for me.
Yeah, I'm thinking about going back to school myself, and we're thinking about taking up astronomy.
Ooh, that's an interesting look at the stars. How fantastic!
You're going to make Jack Horkheimer very proud. Greetings, fellow stargazers.
Does not compute.
No, indeed. I mean, I think we the stars just like I always on my when I like walk back to the flat and it's like quite late. Like, I mean, I live in a city, so like you don't get the chance very often. But when you get onto a stretch of road or a stretch of path that is a bit quieter, especially around the university, we've got quite a bit of natural stuff in the university sort of campus area. And when it's dark and you just look up and you see the natural skylight, like, it is just quite awe-inspiring. Like there is just something quite profound about being able to just gaze off into the great beyond, right? Like there's just something. It speaks to the ethereal state of humanity. I feel like back to caveman times when all we had was the stars.
Right.
Yes. So, we are, or as Carl Sagan would say, we are all made of stardust. We are a way for the universe to know.
Carl says, "Oh no, not another burrito."
I'm made of burritos. Fuck you.
I'm made of burritos, and nobody's stopping me.
Okay. Don't mind Nithro. He's just a northerner. That's all.
Here's the picture.
Oh, nice! I've seen this on your Facebook.
I'm Celtic pagan. I am. I've only been into Ireland once. I would love to go back there. I am of Irish descent.
Same here.
I remember 1980, which might be be before a few of you. I was stationed in Deutschland at the time, and I went a 3-day pub tour of London and Ireland, and I remember the first 2 pubs. And then I woke up the next day in a castle somewhere in Ireland. And one of the reasons I know it was somewhere in Ireland, after I eventually found out where I was.
Yep.
because it was a party, and so it was like a castle that part of it been torn down and whatever, and so they kind of remodeled it into apartments and whatever.
Yep.
And there was probably 20 people there, like stretched out on couches and chairs and sleeping on the floor and whatever. And I got up to go into the kitchen to make coffee because coffee is life.
Yeah.
I've been drinking coffee since I was 5 years old.
Wow.
And there's a guy standing in there. Of course, I don't remember his name now, but the guy standing there, and we started talking, and like instantly within the first 3 words, I picked up that Munster accent. Not Ulster, Munster. So for those of you who know the difference. And I was like, where am I? And he said, you're in Ireland. I was okay, I know that from your accent. And he told me, I can't remember what town it was a small village. And but I absolutely love it. I would go back there again. And my show covers a lot of Irish stuff,
Yeah, the Celtic Kitchen. Not to be confused with the Celtic Chicken, the Celtic Kitchen.
That's because, what was it, a week ago? I think, last show or whatever, maybe a couple days before it started, the last show started. But for some reason, my brain, I would literally say out loud, because I talk to myself.
Yes, same here.
The Celtic Chicken. And I'm like, no, that's not it. It's the Celtic Kitchen. And then 5 minutes later, I would do the same thing. So.
I'm just
of the mall goth. We were just living on Sherwood.
Yeah, we're not seeing like what you're sharing is no, it's like kind of like covered with like I think your like other like windows are in front of it.
Right, yeah.
There we go. Okay, there we go. Now we can see it as well too. We saw it in a bit like a while ago, but now we see it again.
Okay,
Awesome
yeah,
picture.
that's Woad. Well, okay, so it technically is, and it technically isn't at the same time, because the Scots tended to do tattoos, like this. The Irish didn't as much. Woad was more used for. I use it for facial stuff. Woad was more used during the time frame for dyeing clothing. And I think one of the only reasons that it wasn't used for facial stuff is because it doesn't stick very well.
Yeah,
something to make it stick. So let me get rid of that picture.
Yep. Yeah. Picture. The picture is like a photo tells 1,000 words. This word too. Yeah.
So I'm sorry because I suck at names. I forget your name.
Owen McDonald.
Owen. Okay, Owen McDonald.
Who does not have a farm? E-I-E-I-O.
He's son of Donald. He's son of Donald.
Exactly.
What town are you from?
So it's a long and complex history.
Yeah, talk to yourself.
So I'm from our lovely capital. That's where I was born. But I've lived all over the country. Like, there's no sort of one place that I would say is like I lived in Manchester. I lived in Exeter, which is like right in the southwest of the country. I've lived near Plymouth, which is also in the southwest of the country. I've lived in quite a few places across the UK. So I would say that I'm from London, which doesn't really narrow it down because it's quite a big place.
I played AC Valhalla, so I'm basically English. I know everything you're saying.
But yes, I mean, MacDonald's obviously a Scottish surname. Mac meaning son of Donald. A long time ago, a person called Donald realized that there were too many Donalds and decided to give himself the surname MacDonald. Or rather, his offspring MacDonald. But I'm not. I have the Scottish dialect or accent, so I won't attempt one now because I don't want to embarrass myself in this stream.
Yeah, Scott is my last name, and my dad traced it back to the Scott clan, so yeah, I'm Scottish too. But it's just like I don't pretend to like try to like imitate that like accent as well too.
Yeah.
But
at the same time, I wouldn't. It's like my grandparents on my mum's side are from Jamaica, so I've got West Indian heritage. I've got Scottish heritage, English, British. Like, to me, international identity is such a mix of things that it almost feels like I'm a citizen of the world. Is what I want to say, right?
You're one of these globalists as well too.
Most Americans, to some extent or the other, are American mutts.
Yep, same here.
I am, like I said, I am about because I did 2 DNA studies, just I could compare the two. About 70% Irish, 15% Norwegian, Swedish, German, and a little bit of Sicilian. My great grandmother's name on that side was Donatella Maria Luisa Spello. That's German name, right?
Yes.
And the rest Armenian.
Ah, yes.
I mean, Europe's such an interesting case, right? Because the nations of Europe aren't actually that much older
Yeah.
than America, right? I mean,
Yeah.
look at a country like Germany. That's not like a fixed historical entity. It was so
And-
many different kingdoms. Italy's
Yeah.
another example.
Mhm.
And so it almost sort of the folly of national identity, in
Mhm.
that if you go back a few generations, your national identity would not have existed because it's a new a new creation. So I always
Yeah.
find it interesting that the people who are so ardent about where, yes, I'm from this country, I'm
Mhm.
pure French, pure British, like it's well, you're not because they're
I
social.
loved Europe when I was over there. I absolutely loved Europe and
Mhm.
Great Britain and all of that. I loved it when I was over there. I went to Paris for New Year's in
Mhm.
1980. I went to Holland for the Tulip Festival. I was at Oktoberfest for 2 years running.
Mhm.
German food, German beer, German men.
Deutschland.
That was during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey,
they-
what are you doing with this person? We're just having fun. We're just hanging out. No. We're not like two men that like share an apartment together. We're just roommates, as we're two.
and I identified at that time as a gay male
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know what trans was. I mean, I knew what I was, but I
Yeah.
didn't know what the word meant.
Yeah, exactly. Oh god, it took us a while before that. And before people were just like, no, I'm just a cross-dresser as we're too. And then it's just like, oh, you start to know about yourself as well too. Like that classic like meme of like Bugs Bunny, I just like wearing women dresses because it's similar to this. 4 years later on HRT, well, we start to know is a bit about yourself.
In 2009, I was discussing it with a friend of mine who's trans,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about gender and identity and sex and whatever,
Oh yeah,
and they said because they're non-binary, which
Mhm.
I didn't know what that was at the time either.
Yeah.
No, that's covered under the trans umbrella.
Yep.
And we were, very frank discussion. I won't get into everything TMI, but
Yeah.
they asked me, they said, do you get any thrill out of wearing women's clothing? I said, no, it's just clothes.
Mhm.
He said, well, you're not a gay crossdresser, you're trans. And I was like, okay, sure. What the hell is that?
Mhm.
And then they explained it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's it. Fortunately, I have a very high pain tolerance. I just got bottom surgery last Wednesday,
Nice.
and I mean, they gave me OxyContin, which I don't like taking. I take 9 pills a day for other issues as well because
Mhm.
blood pressure, and it sucks getting old, but it beats the alternative.
Yeah.
But so I didn't really want to, in fact, I asked the doctor, I said, do I have to take it? And he's like, no, because he probably doesn't have that question very often. He said, I'll give you the prescription, because they filled it at the hospital. You can take it if you want. It's up to you. And I took it for the first 2 days, and I've just been on Tylenol ever since. So I'm probably flushing it down the toilet because I ain't doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Because like definitely is like it should from what I've like heard from like addiction medicine specialists experts as well. So the opioids as like a painkiller, so it's good to use for acute pain, like no more than like 2 weeks and something like that. It should not be like used or taken for like daily pain as well too, because you're just gonna get addicted as well too.
And I have a separate pain med for arthritis, so my pain is about a 1 to 2 and has been for a few days. Goddess Lucia says, and I love this quote, I have a farm. It's the best farm. No one has a farm as great as mine. And I'm thinking, it's a bigly farm. It's a huge farm. And then they say, I haven't gotten bottom surgery yet, but I've thought about it. And I'm not a trans medicalist. Okay, so you don't have to get surgery to be trans.
Oh yeah.
Or trans man.
Yeah.
You don't have to get surgery for that.
Fuck Angel can get fucked.
But
yes.
you're just as valid. God says, very bigly farm indeed. Yeah. Despite what can't stand that motherfucker Buck Angel. I want to send the boyos around with some sports equipment to discuss things with him. and who's the other one? Oh, Caitlyn Jenner.
Oh yeah.
That bitch, I tell you what.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, that's a Southern phrase. You can't steal that.
Here's my only. I want. I can both empathize and sympathize with Caitlyn Jenner, which is very rare for me. You know, celebrity eating people's faces off party.
Yeah.
But she was crossing the lobby in a hotel, being at CPAC. Okay, you know the
Yeah.
Oh, so she was hanging out with bigots and she got accosted by bigots.
basically like QAnon, but for politicians.
Yeah. CPAC. Yeah.
She was crossing the lobby and she got both misgendered and deadening. And so it's hard for me not to feel Schadenfreude because she said things like, boys shouldn't play in girls' sports.
Yep.
But yet she was in the WPGA, so and with the Republican, not Irish Republican, because that's completely different.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But with the Republican, it's good for me, it's just not good for anybody else.
Yeah. Yes, I got mine, fuck you. That sort of thing too.
It's the same as any of those, like, hang around with bullies and they feel like they'll be one of the cool gang and not just the next person to be laughed and mocked, and in this case, abused by nasty people, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Taylor's old as time.
There's always they will always think that they'll be one of the good ones or the ones that'll be accepted into the group and something like that, and then the night alumni will happen as well too, and so in fact, I kind of like it not that long ago, like in the past week in my podcast rotation, I listened to like Martin Killjoy's like cool people who did cool stuff, and she talked about like the gay resistance during like the time of Nazi Germany as well too. There was a lot of cool people who did cool stuff as well too, and quite interesting people in those queer communities as well too. Because guess what? I remember the book burnings of like the Nazis did stuff like that. That was like LGBTQIA plus like university papers and literature that they had like along some of the best records that we had on like trans issues and other things like that nature up until that point. That's what the Nazis were burning, to like erase queer people from like their history.
Also, the U.S. government / army, when they released and rescued the prisoners at the Holocaust, at the Holocaust from the death camps. Okay. That Marjorie Taylor Greene says, weren't that bad, and a lot of them didn't, whatever.
Okay, should we send her to there to have her experience it for herself?
I got places to send her. There's a book by C.J. Kornbluth, Kornbluth. You guys ought to read. I don't like the title, so that's why I'm not going to name it. But check it out.
Okay,
this is most famous book. But I did want to ask Owen about my impression. Okay, because while I am a Hibernophile, I do not live in the UK. I can't speak to that on the ground, so to speak. But with the Tories and Labour, I've seen a lot of my friends lately talk about the fact that Labour is getting to the point where it's almost as bad as the Tories. What do you think about that? Am I wrong?
Ooh, so yes and no. Yes, in many ways, because the Labour Party, sadly, have been taken over by the most right-wing Labour MPs you can imagine. Entire faction of people who basically believe in the whole, New Labour, Tony Blair era, but even more because they have been conditioned by years of austerity to basically believe in the same stuff that David Cameron was saying over a decade ago. I think that the problem isn't so much that, like, of course they are very conservative. The Conservative Party massively lurched to the far right recently. I mean, our new leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, is an awful person who basically believes every culture war nonsense idea that you can think of, on top of being a massive conservative.
How many leaders has the Tory party had in the past 5 years? 5?
So we had 5 prime ministers. Badenoch will be obviously the 6th leader since Cameron.
Does Liz Truss really count as a leader?
I thought the 6th one was a head of lettuce.
Well, indeed, Liz Truss, by the way, is now going down the far right, culture war nonsense path as well, where she basically,
of course,
crops up at every event to say that we should copy Trump and that trans people are invading our life and all the other nonsense, because they all know that if they want to stay relevant, they got to go down the far right path, right? Like it's staggering that someone like David Cameron, who was an awful prime minister, he did many very bad things, including architecting the austerity that started like right at the start of this whole procedure. He now looks moderate because the Conservative Party's basically fallen off a cliff to the right. But at the same time, they've dragged like most of the UK media scene and Labour Party with them, because like they have basically trotted out the same, like, oh, we need to keep doing austerity, we've got to be cautious of the economy, we can't max out our credit card, all those lies. But
the government's budget is just like a household budget. We got to make sure the checkbooks is balanced. Just like, no, our federal government doesn't work like that.
It's the same nonsense that has been trotted up by every right-wing person in Europe basically for years.
Yeah.
And so that side of it, and obviously they do also engage in like there's a very real concern that transphobia is going to be at the centre of this government. There's several MPs with very questionable views, which sadly, including the health secretary, which is quite alarming. Wes Streeting's a particularly odious man. But Rosie Duffield's not a Labour MP anymore, but she was quite a loud voice in the party. She's quite awful as well. There's lots of that sort of trans exclusionary sort of sentiment. I mean, J.K. Rowling's one of part of the party's biggest donors, right? So, or was for many years. I don't know if she, who knows what she's doing with the money, right?
Yeah, but, who knows?
So there's that element of it. In terms of
apartment,
indeed, right? In the sense that Labour and the Conservatives are the same, I think the Labour Party still have a lot of people who, like Diane Abbott, for instance, is still a Labour MP, but still lots of people in that party who want to move things away from the right-wing sort of presence we've had. And in terms of managing, like, if you want people to manage a liberal democracy, like, you'd rather have centre-right than radically right-wing, but they're centre-right in a political window that has shifted to the right, so they're doing lots of things which are quite similar. And on top of that, they're useless liberals. So you get the rise of fascism, and they're wringing their hands and not really doing anything meaningful and coddling up to people who clearly are not savoury characters. And so there is genuine concern that we're going to be ploughing into a bit of a disaster. And then on top of that as well, I think it's worth just remembering that because of the nature of our struggling capitalist system with, not very good infrastructure and just defunding of social services and the wider ecological crisis, like, of course you're going to be able to manage this very well. Like, so of course there's going to be problems for any government because you've got a fundamentally broken system to regulate. So I think the answer to your question of them being the same is like, it's a mixed bag, but it's largely yes, because they aren't good people. They have crummy right-wing politics, and for all the things they're better than the Conservatives on, it's like it's only marginally. It's like would you rather have your bread 1% moldy or 50% moldy? Like, it's still moldy bread. You're still gonna eat a terrible thing.
Everything that you said reminds me of American politics. Every single point. Okay. I did hear a good analogy about with 1% and 50%. So you're on a plane and you're going somewhere, and the trip is long enough that they serve food. Okay. So the attendant comes down and they ask you, do you want something to eat? And you say, what do you have? This is for the liberal. They say, what do you have? And they say, well, we have a chicken breast, or we have a steaming pile of dog shit mixed with ground glass. And you think for a minute and you say, okay, how is the chicken cooked? That's liberals in the United States. And I agree completely also with the whole, my way to put it would be the whole, we can't talk about MAGA, and we can't, mention MAGA, and we can't, look at Tim Walz. Okay, he did what he could in the debate with Couchfucker, but he didn't really push back a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like I said, then you have, even though, he has a very pro-queer / pro-trans record, okay? Actual record on the ground, not just, sound bites. Like I said earlier to them, in the Senate race in Texas, which is very transphobic, okay?
Yeah.
You have Rafael Cruz, Ted Cruz, who is
Mhm.
running as the standard GOP, QAnon, whatever.
Scumbag.
He doesn't have brainworms too, like Kennedy. And then you have Colin Allred, his Democratic candidate, who is, I would say, probably 80% of his policies are center right, but then also has mouth transphobic dog whistles. So if you're a trans person in Texas, or you have a trans person in your family, or you're a trans ally, because you don't have to have either one of those. You don't have to be trans or have a trans family member to be an ally.
Yeah.
Vote for it. It's like when Obama was running against McCain, they both wanted to keep Guantanamo open.
Yeah.
And like Jon Stewart said, well, then who the hell do you vote for?
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, both sides are not the same in any way, shape, or form. Both sides are not the same, but both sides suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think that's the fundamental problem, is that our society is built on many, many unjust and terrible principles, which are fundamentally at fault, right? Like the economic system we have forces, or not, forces politics to contort to markets, and those with moneyed interest and power. Those with power largely want to keep unjust systems in place because they benefit from them. Said unjust systems are built by people with those internalized bigotries at their core. So you get the patriarchy, cis heteronormativity, white supremacy, what's it called, neurotypical expectations. Like every structure of discrimination and bigotry is just like at the core of the system. So the things we have in place to try and combat them are incredibly limited, and yet we're sort of forced into engaging with them. Otherwise, it's like the meme that lots of right-wing people use, where it's like, oh, well, you're using a phone, so how can you criticize capitalism? It's that, but with our like whole lives, right? Because every single step of our life is moderated and managed by unjust systems, and we're
I've said this before, that I'm pissed the fuck off at the Democrats, because I don't have a choice. Especially being trans. Like, Trump has spent, Trump and the GOP have spent $20 million on anti-trans campaigns, ads, whatever, during football games, all kinds of stuff. And that's more than their anti-immigration, their anti-queer, their supposedly economic platforms, whatever. It's more than all of that combined. So I'm pretty much forced to vote for the Democrats, who are also pro fucking genocide in Palestine.
Yeah. And
you can't tell me that they're not. Okay. The only hope that I have at that issue, which is very, very tenuous, is that after the election, because I think Harris is going to win, that after the election, and once the furor settles down, and they stop trying to reverse it in the courts, because I know that they're able to be moved more toward a humanitarian version. It's not going to be pro-Palestine, just period.
Yeah.
It's not, okay? Because way too many fundamentalists in this country support politicians that then support Palestine. When they had a vote, and it was a referendum in the Senate, no, excuse me, in the House, on anti-Palestine rhetoric, and the fact that what they wanted to try to do was pass a referendum, a bill, making it a felony to speak out about Palestine and to speak against Israel, just flat out, okay? Aiding and abetting people who want to, wipe out Israel. I don't remember the exact terminology. Half of the Democrats voted for it, and the other half abstained.
Yeah.
So
it's tricky, right? Like, there's just so the US is an ally of Israel, and so because of that, politics in the US are contorted through this lens, in the same way that when 20 years ago, when the war on terror was like in full pomp, you couldn't be a critic of the US foreign policy, because you would be, or like not a one that you would risk serious political capital, and in some cases end your career in media at large if you were to say, actually, I've got some questions about the way George W. Bush is handling our conduct overseas, right? Like, and so it's a similar case now, where whilst there is a lot of public discontent with what is happening in America with American missiles and Europe. This is in Europe as well, right? Like with arms going to a state which is actively killing a population, that discontent is like blocked through the political system we have because of the interest of capital, right? Of the interest of our many of our nations' political ally. And so it's like the moment is larger than like this. Like it's like with the genocide, like the violence against Palestinians was not limited to this conflict. It's been going on for decades. Israel's been a force of terror for these people for decades. Like, and so that analysis should let us see the wider systemic problem and not focus it on like, oh, it's this unique moment in time. It's like it's escalated massively in this moment, but it's also just like you only have to look at any archive where you just see constant atrocities against Palestinian people supported by Western governments, right? And that's true of many different conflicts. Like it's as though our capitalist system is fundamentally built on war and oppression and bloodshed, and that is the overarching problem. And as frustrating as that is because of the nature of how big that system is, like that's what the overall like the long-term goal has to be aimed at that. And in the short term, like you've said,
you guys say that system will eventually collapse somehow?
Well, I mean, I think it will. I'm an actual optimist. I believe that one day humanity will get beyond. We got past feudalism, we got past slavery. There's so many things we've managed to overcome. Obviously, when I say we get past slavery, there's still slavery in the world. Capitalism still relies on exploited labor fundamentally. But I mean, can you imagine being a peasant 300 years ago and saying, we're going to enjoy many more rights now than we do in our serfdom? I think that the crises the world faces will force change. I mean, as scary as the prospect of like fascism making the capitalist class basically pull up the drawbridge and shut off the West from the rest of the world and let the climate crisis destroy everything. Like even in that scenario, I still see the roots that like change happening, right? Like, humanity's not static. We're not going to be stuck in this forever. I think what makes it tricky to discuss this is that because the information age has exclusively happened under capitalism, right? Like we've only had the access to most of our modern tools that we sort of assume have always been there for every human in the last few decades, which have been capitalist. So because of that, like recency bias, we're sort of stuck with this mindset. And so because of that, I feel we have to look and see the progress we've made and see that actually change is possible and there is more for humans to be able to do. It's just that it feels like we're stuck because we're in a particularly rubbish time at the moment.
Yeah, and I talked to like some people who just like honestly cannot imagine like the capitalism going away ever, and so they'll say to me, "I know the system sucks because I talk about my friends are disabled and like I have to like raise money for every week or every month for like various different things. I know it sucks, but it's the system we have, and I'm making the best of it as well too. I just hate that defeatist mindset of like, well, it's the system we have, we can't change things. But there's been several things we managed to change before. Imagine trying to say like, yo, slavery sucks, but it's the system we have now, we can't change it.
Yeah, and let's use a sports metaphor because I love my I call it soccer because I'm in a room with lots of Americans.
It is football. It's fine to call it football.
But it's often the case that you get like a really good team and they go through a season and just like beat everyone. They'll lose maybe once all season. They'll win so many trophies, win games 4, 5, 6-0. And at the end of the season, you're thinking, wow, this is awful. Like we're never gonna beat these guys. They're just gonna be here forever. And then the next season comes and actually they lose a few games and suddenly they're not top of the league. And suddenly actually that they're not that undefeatable. And it's the same thing with capitalism, like maybe over a longer period of time. But what seems invincible now is only the meal of the day, right? Like and we have long days sometimes. It's always going to be it's always brightest before. That's not the same.
Well, at one
It's always
point,
darkest before dawn.
well, we always used to think that there was the divine right of kings, and we don't really think that anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. I just feel like a lot of people are going to die before I guess we get to that point, unfortunately.
Well, what pisses me off, many things do, but what pisses me off is when people hear quote unquote liberals and some leftists will go, oh, well, we just need to tear the system, just burn the whole system down and start over. Okay, you also realize that what you're doing then is condemning millions of Americans, disabled Americans, to death. There are over 61 million Americans in this country that are disabled. And that's just quote unquote physical disabilities. It's not counting the invisible disability. Most of those are going to die without state support. As minimal as it is, believe me, it's minimal. Most of those are going to die.
Yeah. I think that taps into the there's a lot of like nihilism and despair and sort of like when you're a kid, and I mean I work in education, like so I sort of see this a bit firsthand. Like lots of kids when we're in school doesn't quite work out for them, not because they don't like there's a bit of a misconception that some kids are just born bad and don't like learning and all of that stuff. They don't match the conditions of the required of them in school. They find it hard to sit still, maybe, or to engage with maths and English because there's a lot of undiagnosed learning difficulties in education because the resources aren't there. But that's another story for a second. Anyway, these kids end up quite rebellious and quite angry and quite difficult to manage in the classroom setting, not because of their individual like proclivity to education, but because they don't have an outlet for their frustration and anger, and it's just put onto that. And so similarly, the anger that is felt about the systems we live in can be translated into just a no, get rid of all this. We're going to not engage with it. We're going to burn it all down. It's going to all be destroyed in a way that they wouldn't actually necessarily agree with if they were to visualize it and think about it more clearly. But in that moment is expressed with, oh, we'll just burn down the White House and burn down, get rid of everything and just start again like that. Whereas I think as we recognize, like the fight for improving things isn't destroying everything. It's looking at our current form of production and changing the way it's managed, right? Like we don't, again, to get back that phone metaphor. Oh, you don't want to use phones because they're exploited. It's not the phone itself which is the issue. It's a production process which forces people into exploitative roles. And so the same process that makes a phone can be modified and changed to make phones which are better, and the same for every product. And to go back to what you said, Isaiah, like I think the so how do I pronounce your name, by the way? So I'm really sorry.
Isaiah.
Isaiah. Sorry. Yeah, so to go on to what you said, I think people dying is what's happening right now under our capitalist system, right? Like you in hashtag said herself, the number of people who are kicked off benefits because they don't meet some. I mean, in my country, our disability services have been gutted by the Conservatives, right? Like thousands of people have died because they've been deemed fit to work, had the benefits stopped, and then died because they needed that money to survive, right? Whilst I think the fear of change makes us visualize the change from capitalism to a better system being like some big bloodbath where like just millions just die. And I think that is obviously scary, and we don't want to have that happen. But the capitalist class that would like use violence to protect their capital are doing that anyway through police suppression, mass incarceration, warfare. Like, go for it.
Yeah, Owen. Well, it's like in my country we have the Second Amendment, right? I know you've heard about it because we need to stop because you people are gonna take our guns. But then I'm thinking like most of the people that believe that, I feel like if the government fell, they would just go in and just like enact some like totalitarian fascist super state.
Yeah.
I just want
it's scary, right?
Yeah, it's like it's like none of these people like. If I ever ask these people what a tyrannical government is, they'll just say like a left-wing government. But
the Democrats.
I mean, but like I've always just feared like if these people like were able to overthrow the government, they'll just walk in and it'll just be like Handmaid's Tale or something. So
I think I suppose there like to go back again to slavery and Jim Crow ending and stuff like. Someone could say then like, oh, the racists in the country are going to sweep and take over and do really bad things. But at the same time, we've got to like if we can push that. That's why I think it's important to be pragmatic, right? Like whilst we want this as our end goal, the more we push society left through little victories, or even just stopping right-wing parties winning and stuff, and stopping right-wing success, that makes it harder for that dystopian future to be visualized and realized. And I think as well, like. The majority of like right-wing people are not fascists, they are very bad and they have terrible views, but they're not like
Yeah.
dying the wall Nazis who are going to go and gun people down. Like, I think a lot of them will just change with society changing at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
which does, yeah, of course, they're going to still hold things that need to be questioned and called out and stuff. And of course, the conservative mindset needs to be like defeated and beaten and stuff, right? But in terms of the actual percentage of people who, are an active threat, I feel like they're very good at being loud and very forcibly sort of in the same way that left-wing people vote for the Democrats. There's a lot of people who probably can't stand like the Trump stuff, but will vote Republican because it's just like what they do. And there's even more people in society who just don't have a political affiliation, like just people just aren't like attuned to anything. So I think the changes that seem terrifying and seem like they'd be met with fierce resistance are in part that reaction is almost like cultivated by a media landscape which is bought out by right-wing forces and therefore naturally going to portray any like when Bernie Sanders or Jeremy Corbyn tries to do anything like remotely slightly different from the neoliberal track, like they're like they get called communists, they get called like the same as Stalin, and they get shut out of any sort of discussion.
Yeah. So even though like I'm gonna like hope that like Bernie Sanders like won in like 2016 or 2020 being nominee, even if he did somehow like became the president as well too, I think the Democrats themselves, at least the leadership of the Democrats, would just like stop him from trying to do anything progressive. So Bernie would have to like fight against like Congress and the Senate, not only from the Republicans but also the Democrats as well too. I am so cynical about the Democrats. I just don't have faith in them like pushing things like forward or at least like that. At least not on their own.
Well, Owen, like, did you see our DNC, Owen, and just how much of a circus it was?
Well, this year or
This year, yeah.
yeah, I mean the trouble is liberals, like a lot of them mean well, but they're very fearful of any like they believe in society as being like a plane where you need a left wing and a right wing to fly along nicely. And so when the right wing so like the right wing media are very critical of anything left, right? Because they're right wing, they want to protect the interests of capital. So there's a fear from liberals, which Chrissy Osti mentioned when I spoke to her a few weeks ago. That anything they do that might be a bit more to the left will just be pounced upon and they'll be called communists and they'll lose landslide elections like they did against Reagan or like the Labour Party in our country did against Boris Johnson a few years ago. And so part of their fear to do anything like at a bigger thing like a DNC or beyond just like minimal liberal reforms and stuff is that fear of backlash. Part of it is also their own sort of political beliefs, like because someone, Keir Starmer and stuff who don't believe in the left-wing stuff that could be done. Like that's part of the problem as well. But there's a lot of people who just essentially need to be same with the conservatives, just pushed into a left-wing place like societally, and then they will probably start doing things. And that push is going to be slow and hard, but I believe that is something that can be done, like to get things like with climate change. Like for as much as liberals are frustrating, there is generally a consensus that this is something that needs to be done. The thing that stops them from doing those things is their belief in the market and of capitalist. Oh well, the economy will get hurt if we start switching to greener energy sources. Yeah. And so if we can like make the case, have people in party who aren't like active climate change deniers like Republicans or the Conservatives, if we have that mechanism in place.
I do gotta run, guys, but it was nice talking to y'all.
Right. Okay, yeah, nice seeing you again.
Peace out, guys.
Peace out, Sasha.
Bye.
I think one of the problems also is, and I think, I see it in conservatives, liberals, and leftists. I don't obviously think it's genetic. I think it's cultural, but I think at least in America, I think it's cultural. I have what I call it the rule of three. For example, I was taught this in college, and prior to that in high school, when you do a speech, you tell people what you're going to tell them, and then you tell people what you told them. Parents use that three. Okay. I was sitting with a friend of mine one time. Her daughter was about 2. And she got a phone call. She's on the phone. Okay, so I'm just playing on my phone, because I don't want to interrupt her. And her daughter's going, Mom, 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 Mom. Finally, she turns around. She goes, you know what? And the kid's like, okay, I'm done. I'll go away now. but you get the political realm, especially with MAGA, okay, but even with the non-MAGA Republicans, which are less than they used to be, you have that 3-syllable thing. Okay, so it's not social justice warrior, it's SJW. It's not anti-fascist, it's Antifa. It's not Black Lives Matter, it's BLM. It's shortened to slogans, sort of like Newspeak. Okay, it's shortened to slogans so that your politician, whoever it happens to be, can use those. CRT, critical race theory. Okay, I've literally had people tell me, "Oh, well, they teach it in schools," but no, they don't. Okay, so first of all, nowhere in the United States is CRT taught, critical race theory taught, at the 12th grade or below level. Period. Not one school in the entire United States, and including Alaska and Hawaii, is it taught, period. It is only in the college and only at an elective level. So you can take it if you want, and if you don't want to, you don't have to. It's not part of a degree in any way, shape, or form. And then you have people who are /were against, for a while, quite a while there, we were tearing down statues of Confederate generals, Confederate soldiers. And they're like, "Oh my God, that's a part of history. How are we going to know our history?" You could read a book. We don't have to lionize racist generals who lead racist armies in order to know history.
Yeah, but I think what they don't say out loud when those Civil War general statues were put up all around the South too, right when civil rights was picking up or other things like that, it was just like a reminder to Black people to know your place as well too.
Exactly. And then when you have things like the Tuskegee incident and other things like that, Black Wall Street,
Tulsa,
Tulsa,
Greenwood, Rosewood.
Right. It is, people will say about, liberals, especially, a few leftists, not very many, but especially liberals will say about Trump and about MAGA. This isn't our country. We're not we've been like this for 300 fucking years. Okay?
Yeah.
We started out as a racist, slave-owning country.
Yeah.
Misogynistic as well, because women weren't allowed to vote either. And in fact, during the suffragette movement, Roosevelt put women in mental institutions because they wanted the ability to vote and protest against it. So when people say, "Oh, well, we're not like this," or it only happened during Trump. No, what Trump did was he ripped off the scab and let all of that vitriol and pus and evil, it's evil, and whatever spread out. And people became more, the racism, etc., has always been in this country. People became more comfortable saying that quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's because the GOP, for example, people in the GOP have told me online. They usually don't tell me in person because I tend to get a little vitriolic. That well, the Lincoln freed the slaves, and that was Republicans and the Democrats, da 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 da.
Yeah.
At that time, the Democrats,
what happened in the last
were
150 years, I wonder?
They were pro-slavery. And then when the 1964 Civil Rights Act was passed, they switched parties. They were Southern, quote unquote, the Southern Democrat bloc, and they switched parties and became Republicans. So this whole idea that the GOP are somehow and then you have shit stains like Trump, who claimed that he was better for Black people than Abraham Lincoln, or great for women. Okay, well, he's also bragging about being able to grab him by the pussy if he's rich.
Oh, and also he will say that he will protect women whether they like it or not as well too.
Right.
But it's like just the same reason like all people are going to be protecting women as they're saying what they're not saying is like we're protecting women from black people, we're protecting women from brown people, immigrants who are not sending their bends to the rapists as well too.
But not only that, but then you also have, not even, putting ethnicity in it, you also have, the whole thing about the bear. Okay, I'm a supporter of the bear. And the whole thing about, men will say, and sometimes well-meaning, okay, don't get me wrong, but men will say, well, we're protectors of women, we protect women. And my response is, who are you protecting us from? Other men.
Yeah.
And you'll say we're protecting women, and you'll say all this stuff in public, okay, on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your social media accounts, but you never do it in person. And you never say to the men who do this stuff, you need to back up, you need to calm down, you need to redo your thinking, you need to do whatever.
Yeah.
That's why you have incels who, and you have people, social media influencers like Kevin Samuels, who, by the way, is still dead. And what's his name? Andrew Tate.
Okay. Oh God, that fucker.
And others like him, Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Who had a fit because the M&M's animated logo changed her boobs and therefore was no longer sexy.
I forgot about this. Did the green and then started wearing like shoes and like set
Okay,
of.
but see, here's the thing, okay, because the green M&M is femme, okay.
Yes.
They didn't used to be.
But she's not wearing the go-go boots.
Right. They didn't used to be femme. They used to be quite
the Fox guy
masculine.
can't fuck her.
So the trans community has adopted the green M&M as one of our symbols.
I can see that, yeah.
Or you have Tucker Carlson who says, in order to be manly and be a man, you have to be like him and suntan your testicles. What?
I mean, these people are they are absurd, aren't they? Just walking contractions and hypocrites of themselves. Right. But I think it's important to recognize that all the noise that comes out of these people is just about power, right? It's about maintaining right-wing hegemony and power in those systems. Like when Tucker Carlson goes on some tirade about the green M&M, like for as much as it's because he's a ridiculous, awful man, it's also because in that moment it's about asserting their belief as the belief and maintaining that. Like when they talk about the heritage of Robert Lee statues or teaching race theory, it's because that they know that the more society moves leftwards and racially aware and deconstructs that power structure, the less power they have. It's why the same people throughout history opposed ending slavery, ending segregation, initiatives to raise up equality and stuff, because they know it takes away their power. Like why else? You are a capitalist, then you want to be the person on top. You want to have the most capital, the most power in society. Yeah. So when someone tells you your form of power is exploitative, that is a threat to said power. It means you have to share it and end the oppression. And so you put your resources into maintaining that structure by denying racism, by maintaining symbols and cultural import, like the sociologist Pierre Bourdieu said, cultural capital, social capital. These are things which are also part of the
actually, no, I think you'll find that it's only physical things. Marx said it has to be physical stuff. I don't like Marxism.
To your earlier point, Owen, when you were talking about MAGA and whatever, a phrase ran across my mind. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. You have all these people who are running up the mouth. I think, could be wrong, but I kind of tend to agree with you. I'm not a complete optimist. I'm not a Pollyanna, but I think that, like we were discussing before you came on, in Michigan, for example, the media calls this a purple state. I disagree with that. I think that there's, I'm going to say, a complete guess, but I'm going to say that as far as the vote goes, Kamala Harris, is going to pull anywhere from 55 to 75% of the vote here in Michigan. I don't think it's anywhere near as quote unquote red or purple as the media says it is. And if she does pull as low as like 55%, because there's a lot of independents and a lot of
undecided voters.
And whatever.
Yeah.
Green Party, which I can't stand Joel Stein. But I think that's going to be the ratio there. I still think she's not going to do a landslide, but I think she's still going to do there. As far as the other point goes, with the power base, for example, trans women directly threaten the patriarchy, and not even because not if we're protesting, if we don't protest, we don't whatever, they directly threaten that. Unlike trans men, because in our society, and there's a lot of other societies too, but I can only really just go into detail on ours. In our society, being feminine is bad. Okay. If you're white cishet male and you're criticizing a white cishet male, even if you're quote unquote joking around, okay, you're going to use words that are derogatory towards women.
Yeah.
And
pussy or something like that.
Feminine, and etc. Okay. When trans men, and we're going to leave the lesbian TERFs out of this, when trans men want to transition into men, or want to bring their body up to their mind, okay, that's considered more okay, because being masculine is cool, being masculine is badass. But when trans women want to do that, some of them, not all. I don't agree with the whole, every single homophobic person is gay. Secretly, I don't agree with that. Sometimes they're just assholes.
Yeah.
But, some of them are questioning, and they don't want to question, or they don't want to. Not so much they don't question their own sexuality, their own gender, but they want, they don't want to question the status quo, and they question what is considered masculine in our culture. And trans women directly threaten that. Yeah. I don't think it's why necessarily. Well, I mean, sort of it is and it isn't. I don't think it's completely why necessarily that Trump spent so much on anti-trans ads. As the reason he spent that much on anti-trans ads is because of that culture and because of that fear that a lot of cis men, okay, including black cis men, including cis men of color, okay, not just the white, are taught to fear us, which is why you also get the groomers and accusation of being pedophiles and whatever. You know how many trans women have been arrested for sexual assault in a bathroom in the last 50 years in this country?
3.
0.
Oh, off by 3.
0. One person claimed to be trans after being arrested, okay, wasn't dressed femme or anything, and claimed that they were trans. Yeah, they're not prods. They're not showbiz. They claimed to be trans, okay, and then it came out during that trial that they clearly were not. They, they had no interest. They were just trying to get out of, whatever the charges were. Just in the last 10 years alone, over 200 right-wing politicians, priests, Baptist ministers, Catholic priests, reverends, whatever, have been convicted, not just the ones arrested, but convicted of child sexual assault. So there's an old, let's say 4 or 5 years old. There's an old saying, every conservative accusation is a confession.
Yeah.
Ted Haggard is completely heterosexual.
And so the culture is ripe for, to be honest, and I got pushback from somebody until I reminded them of something. I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago when I was on Twitter, because I can't stand Twitter, and it's not X, fucking or as I call him, Lone Scum, okay, which is it's Twitter. But they were talking about, trans people and, etc. And sort of not completely anti-trans, but, definitely not pro-trans either. And I said something along the lines of, we are the new, insofar as the bigots goes, okay, we are the new other for the new Holocaust. And this person who was Jewish said, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember the exact words, but basically said, how dare you compare us to the show, how dare you compare yourselves to the Jews in the Shoah, which is the Holocaust. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And I said, where the fuck do you think the pink triangle came from? That was not something that was dreamed up of by 1939 queer activists, which were non-existent. Okay. And so when the U.S. Army / government came in and rescued and released all the rest of the prisoners and all the rest of the death camp prisoners, I guess, maybe a better word. All the queer people, all the gay people with pink triangles were kept in prison. Until
I think there's a
it was that way in this country pretty much until Stonewall. And finally we said we've had enough. And also,
because alongside,
I don't want to monopolize it, but because I tend to do that. But also, I'm tired of these white motherfuckers talking about how basically they imply it, they don't come right out and say it, how they're trying to center themselves, and how they're badass because they've gone out and they marched and they this and that, whatever. Okay. Stonewall was started by 2 trans women of color who also happen to be sex workers.
Marsha P. Brady.
Yep.
Did I get
Marsha
that right?
Johnson.
No. Marsha P. Johnson.
And Sylvia Rivera.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, they weren't the only ones. Don't get me wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
It was a fucking riot. There were a lot of people there.
Right, who were protesting. Yeah, it was a riot because the cops would go in and bust people just because, arrest them, whatever. And even if they didn't convict anybody, that arrest would be on their record.
Yeah.
And finally, we had enough, and we said, no, fuck you.
I mean, cis heteronormativity is alongside all parts of patriarchy and white supremacy as one of those pillars of power in Western society, right? Like our just as the gender just as gender is used as a tool of oppression and race, this is also the powers that be want to, as you said earlier, right? Like patriarchy is threatened when you change the model of society, of the family, right? If you've got powerful husband, dutiful wife, kids that are raised in the same manner, someone who says, actually, this isn't the reality for me, I'm not following this model, I'm a trans person, I'm non-binary, that suggests that actually there's another power structure which can be like not power structure, but another structure for life, another way of existing. And so you get whole institutions dedicated to medicalizing it and othering it, creating pejoratives around the supposed weakness of this thing. And it's like you said a moment ago, the fact that trans people are at the center of this othering is a deliberate choice by fascists, because in times of strife, be it the strife that is seized upon through bigotry or the direct strife that threatens capitalists with their money, if you have a target to direct your anger at, then it distracts from the class war that should be happening, the criticism of the system itself. And so trans people are just the most a convenient target with less societal reputation and capital, right? Because black people are also hated by these groups, but there's more in place to be combat racism and sexism than there is transphobia. So transphobia is easy because there's more, you don't have to go that far in history, and it really is happening now as well, right? To see jokes in films which are basically just look very as a trans person.
Naked Gun.
Exactly, right? Whereas someone would not get away, well, I say not get away, it does still happen, but if you watched a TV show and you saw someone in blackface do a minstrel routine, or you saw someone make a joke where it was joking about sexual assault or rape or something, those topics are harder to slip under the radar than one which is a joke about a trans person, which is still oh, here is a man in a dress, is still seen as the spine of a lot of comedic routines. And so because of that normalized transphobia, bigots who have political power have an easier time focusing their hatred towards it. But it does backfire. I mean, I think the fact that the one of the big kicks for the Democrat Party was that actually this is very strange, Republicans, that you've obsessed over this topic for so many years. That was a seller, because there are a lot of people who are like transphobia in society, I feel, is managed and cultivated by the structures of oppression, right? But it's so managed because the average person does not care as much as bigots like to believe, right?
The same way as misogyny, racism, homophobia, all the other bigotries. Capitalism didn't create them, but it definitely exploits them and uses them and exacerbates them.
Yeah.
Because it's profitable to keep us divided.
Yeah. Well, the creation of race, like how do you justify enslaving a continent and shipping people like they're cattle? Well, you claim that there's different species amongst humanity, that the white race is separate from the black race, even as it ignores any convention of history, of the fact that people have many different diversities. And really, melanin count in someone's skin is a very silly way to divide an entire species up. But logic of capitalism demands that race become a thing to make profit from, and so here we are today with our racialized society.
I recall Bad Empanada had a really good video tracing the development of white supremacist bullshit through the Spanish hacienda system into the British Caribbean and then into North American slavery. And how it just sort of fed on itself until you finally get the Bacon Rebellion, named after the white guy who happened to be involved in it. And then they codified it in law.
Getting back to the geoside for a second. You have, so you have the people over there next to Izzy, and they're bad and it's horrible, and they're doing this and they're doing that and they're doing whatever. And also, like, it started October 7th. Israel started in 48, 47, pretty much officially 48. Hamas wasn't formed until 87. 4 years later. Number one. Number two, look at what happened in Haiti. With the
1809
press at the time, Haiti population finally said, "Fuck this, we had enough," and rose up and killed all of their masters.
They stole themselves. Fortunately, they finally paid themselves back by the 1950s.
Right, and then like I said, and then even after they quote unquote won freedom, the French devastated the country, and they were forced to borrow money at ridiculous rates in order to pay the French back for destroying their
stealing
country.
themselves. They stole property.
But then, by the same token, you have my ancestors, the Irish, who there's an old saying: the Irish are loved everywhere except in their own country. The Irish are lauded for, and I agree with this part, for fighting against British control, but they're not, because you have the provost and you have the IRA and whatever. Not really doing anything different than what Hamas is doing. But it's okay. If it's the IRA, to some extent, obviously, not.
I would argue that the U.S. did not look too favorably upon the IRA. I recall growing up that they were looked on poorly.
But look at Biden and look at Reagan. Look at their record on supporting issues that supported the IRA, and then sending money. In some cases, a lot of politicians, Irish politicians, and or Irish supporting politicians who literally sent money over there, or they didn't do it, but they happened to help a campaign who got money to send over there.
Ireland is coded white now, isn't it? When you think of Ireland, you are talking of a nation that is perceived as white and as European, whereas Palestine, Haiti, these are nations which are the other. They are not white, and so they don't get access to it. Interestingly, Haiti had to pay back lots of loans, but the former colonies of lots of former empires also have to engage in the BS loans of the World Bank and IMF. Which
that's the modern colonialism.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You're in debt to our nations. We've helped you so much. Better take a massive loan and let us privatize all your natural resources so that you can't do anything, and that you've got to, then a decade later, when the loan can't be repaid, we'll have another loan. Let us take some more of your natural resources.
And now here's more austerity.
help your economy and whatever. I remember reading somewhere, in the exact number may be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I remember reading somewhere that of the countries that exist today, only 20 have not been colonized by the British government. I mean, going way back, obviously, not just today, but
France. No, wait, no, World War II.
all over the world,
Mm-hmm.
look at,
Germany,
China,
no, World War II.
I mean, they got
Luxembourg,
into
no, World War II.
China, with the Opium War, because the British side tried to get a lot of Chinese people hooked on opium, and they did to an extent, okay. And then finally the Chinese government, which I'm not particularly fond of either, said, no, we're not going to do that anymore, and they started a war over it.
Yep.
Well, the innovation of a good navy made Britain one of the quicker European powers to begin their colonizing process. Though I feel like the 20 countries that are left still probably, if they aren't in Europe, then Spain and Portugal also had navies quite quickly as well. And so they, unfortunately, Britain was not the only nation to have its I mean, you only have to look at the history of Africa, for instance, or Latin America to see the stain of the whole world over, right? Like capitalism is a system that produces monsters of its
there are two countries in the world that are doubly landlocked. That is to say, they're landlocked countries that are completely surrounded by landlocked countries. So I'm thinking Liechtenstein and Uzbekistan are the only two countries that have never been touched by British bullshit. Because Navy.
I was gonna say something. I can't remember now. I love
Ireland.
Is double landlocked? Liechtenstein.
Liechtenstein and Uzbekistan are the only two countries in the world that are double landlocked.
When we say double landlocked, we mean like a country inside a country.
It's a landlocked country completely surrounded by landlocked countries.
I'm trying to. Which country is Liechtenstein next to? Surely its borders one of Germany, France.
Liechtenstein is surrounded by Austria and Switzerland.
Okay.
Really? It doesn't have border of Germany or France?
Apparently not.
Get a map. That's stuff in my geography.
That's interesting. Oh, that's a little tidbit that you like here on Social Justice Alchemy.
Yeah, so Liechtenstein is surrounded by Austria and Switzerland.
Oh no, because I'm thinking of Luxembourg. I'm thinking of that's why.
Luxembourg is that's a city that's also a country, right?
Well, the city is like most of the country, but it's got a bit of Benelux.
Like the
sort of like Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Both a city and a country.
Yeah, exactly.
But Italy's not landlocked, which isn't. So it's not double landlocked. And then Uzbekistan, where? So Uzbekistan obviously is in Asia. Because the Caspian Sea is not the Caspian
it doesn't connect to the ocean. Yeah.
It's the largest lake in the world because it's not an ocean.
But because it doesn't drain to anything, it's saltwater.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what determines whether or not you have freshwater or saltwater. Basically, freshwater flows, saltwater is where freshwater goes to die.
Yep.
They are some nifty borders. I mean,
or in the case of 1973, when the river catches on fire.
Ohio, yeah. No, Cincinnati specifically, right? Or possibly London every 5 years.
You get that too. Carl Sagan said, of course, and you got 3 Mile Island and everything else, but like Carl Sagan said, liquid water is the most precious thing in the universe.
And we poop in it.
System, and we throw our garbage and toxic waste in it.
Yep.
That's capitalism, man. But this has been loads of fun, but it's getting a bit late in the UK.
Yeah.
It's like 9:30 there.
It's exactly 9:30. And I've got a very busy week, so I'll have to depart. It's been lovely chatting, lovely meeting you. # not all hippies. And I'm sure, and I've realised actually, you're on episode 292 now.
Yes.
So what's that? 8 away from the triple century.
Yeah.
So you must be planning something fun for that, right?
Absolutely. I'm going to be a cat.
I might try to
what a change.
I might try to invite on a special guest. I'm not sure. I haven't asked as to what to, and but it's just like I don't know who I want to invite, and I don't want to express it publicly.
We should get Joe Biden. He's not doing anything these days. He won't be doing anything in 8 weeks.
Will he remember?
Get Santa on Christmas, be in December probably.
Yeah, bro.
Anyhow, it's been a pleasure, guys.
Later, dude.
Later. We should
Okay.
probably.
Thanks for stopping by, Owen.
Yeah, we've gone an hour over, but
Yeah,
that's because
we
I don't have a
usually-
D&D game
Wow.
tonight, so I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't realize we went that long over.
We usually.
That's
do
because you were the
90
one talking.
Hey, I resemble that remark. Two things here. Okay.
Sure. Yeah,
Number
yeah.
one, I combine the two, so I'm ADHD, but I am ADHD. Okay,
Mhm.
so like I said earlier, you have to interrupt me because otherwise you ain't getting a word in edgewise. When I
Yeah.
did my show, hashtag not all hippies, okay, I did probably over 250, 280 shows, something like that, okay?
Mhm.
The first 20, 30 shows, I didn't do any interviews.
Mhm.
And I remember asking one of my friends one time what she thought of the show.
Mhm.
She said it's great, but it was a little long. I said I wasn't keeping track. How long was it? 3.5 hours. By myself. But I do, to do a 2.5 to 3 hour show, I did 7 to 8 hours of research
Mhm.
and writing copy and editing, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to be on the 300 show. That would be cool.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not saying you have to, but I'm retired, so I can be a regular. I am doing, my own show, obviously, but I go back and forth between that. But it's probably going to pretty much stay on Saturdays, and it's going to be early enough, 3 p.m. that because I have British followers and Irish followers that want to see, want to watch the show. We should get Nyan
At Necronomicon. And she's Necronomicon is a streamer friend of mine that is a meteorologist, the graduate as well too, and works.
And
as
she's a really
meteorologist.
big fan of Tornadoes, starring Bruce Campbell.
Oh
no, Twisters, Twister, starring Bill
Come
Paxton.
on, baby, let's do the twist.
Yeah, but yeah,
so she and Isaiah can geek out at each other over weather shit. Yeah, that would be fun. Actually, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it, but and here's the problem. Okay, I don't know a whole lot about it, and yet I know more than probably 80% of the Americans I know. And I try not to indulge in Dunning-Kruger, and I've caught myself a couple of times, or been pointed out. Like for example, even though he turned out to be a complete fucking asshole now, and Lawrence Krauss got credibly accused of sexual assault. Okay.
Yeah.
By more than one person.
Yep.
And he kind of went, somewhat underground, whatever, quiet, whatever, for about 8 months or so. And now he's completely anti-woke and, and whatever. Whatever, fuck off, bitch. But anyway,
just like David Silverman and
yeah, exactly.
the really
exactly
smug
like
piece
David
of shit
Silverman.
and the other smug piece of shit.
Krauss. And it really kind of sucked because Krauss was doing a lecture in London. And it was basically anti-Islam. Okay.
Yeah.
It was a debate. Okay. It wasn't a lecture. It was a debate. Okay. And there were he and another person on his side and a Muslim imam, and I forget who the other person was on the other side, quote unquote. Okay. And he stipulated in the agreement, for the debate that they not separate the audience into male and female. And when he got there, he walks out on stage. He's got like a backpack with his book and laptop and whatever, right? Sets it down, looks up, and that's what they did. And he said, "No, I'm done. I'm out of here." And they're like, "What?" He said, "No, I'm out of here. I told you ahead of time. I'm not going to do it if it's separated." Okay. And he turned into
Segregated.
Yeah, segregated. Excuse me. Yeah, there you go. But I'm a huge physics, cosmology geek.
Yep. It's awesome shit.
Alex Filipenko, who I call the smiling physicist, and Phil Plait, the bad astronomer, and at the time, Lawrence Krauss and Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's another fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Brian Cox, Brian Greene, Victoria Howard. I can just go on and on and on. And so I completely forgot where the fuck I was going with this. So Lawrence Krauss did a lot of, okay, because I don't give a fuck what he's done lately, but he has a book called The Physics of Star Trek.
Yeah.
A book called something out of nothing or something like that. Talking about the origin of the Big Bang, cosmology, and whatever. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I understand about 95 to 100% sometimes, depending upon the lecture, what they're discussing, whether it's the World Science Foundation or whatever. And so I watched one of his lectures on because he does lectures all the way to postgraduate level, which I already knew I wasn't. Okay. And I watched one of his lectures that was given to like his somewhere between 2 to 2.5 year students, maybe 25% of it. I was like, okay, I don't understand anywhere near as much as I thought I did. So a little bit of Dunning-Kruger there on my part. Okay.
Yep.
But what can be disheartening, I guess, at the time. For example, we were talking earlier about languages. I know some of Huelga, okay. I know some of Espanol, Francais. I know a few phrases and words in Hebrew and Yiddish and Ethiopian.
Yeah.
Especially the bad words. And so when I worked at Wally World for like 12 years, I'm an oral polyglot, and it comes out because I can't pick up. And so I would teach people how to swear in Ethiopian. Because if you swear in Spanish, chances are a lot of people can understand you. Okay. You swear in Ethiopian, you got maybe a 5% chance, unless you live in DC. Because Washington, DC has the biggest contingent of Ethiopians outside of Ethiopia itself. Okay. But I was always kind of surprised by, of course, there are people that I worked with that never been out of the county in their life. And they're almost as old as I am. Okay. And I'm not criticizing them necessarily for it, but, because that's their life choices or life circumstances or whatever. But, when you say that someone like me is intelligent because I know some language stuff and because I know some cosmology stuff and whatever, and I'm like, I don't really know jack shit. Okay. I consider myself like, if you consider, a classic American is average, I would consider myself maybe about 90% of that, like the middle of the road. Okay, maybe. Depending upon topic too, of course. And so what disheartens me a little bit is that a lot of people I know are like 20%. And we're not talking necessarily, MAGA either, although most of those are, but reps too. And I'm like, don't you people ever fucking read a book?
You turn on your camera, John Brockman. This is different.
Yes, because Wesley just randomly hopped up on my bed to curl up and take a nap. That's the big black blob right there.
I'm assuming. I don't know. Is that a cat or a dog?
That's a great big dog.
Okay. Well, because of the angle and whatever, I'm like, I don't know what that is, but
that's a queen size bed, and he's taking up half of it.
Puppy. Okay, now I see. Awesome. How old is he?
He's like, oh God, maybe. I think he's getting on toward 10 years old now.
I got two of my pets I got to show you. By the way, I don't have to feed my pets; they don't eat.
The amazing thing is that he hopped up on my bed. Ordinarily, his hips are getting kind of bad. He doesn't like going upstairs, but he went ahead and hopped up on my bed.
So hashtag she has the urge to show off her pets and somewhere too that she does have to feed is where
You hear me?
Yes, and we can still hear you. Yes.
Okay, because for some reason it switched microphones. So I don't know how well this will. Why the heck is my camera?
I don't know why your camera's off.
God hates you. Because you're Irish.
Fuck off.
Yeah, because
video.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been doing a show. Like one time I was interviewing an XJW. Okay. I was using Google Meet at the time. Literally 30 seconds before I went on the air. Everything was all set up.
XJW makes an excellent SJW.
Right. He does. And 30 seconds before I went on the air, my internet crapped out and I couldn't get it back for 45 minutes. I was pissed. So anyway, This is Velvet.
Nice. Hello.
And the reason I bought this
Is she a black mermaid?
Yes.
Oh my
Okay.
god, that is sacrilege.
He is a black mermaid.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. And the only reason I say that, okay, is because its pattern is femme. Okay. But this, because I'm working on, I've got some of the sound files, but I'm working on a underwater like a 5-minute to 6-minute clip for each episode sitcom involving all underwater characters.
Ah.
So that's Velvet. And then where is it? Okay. Then you have Spot. Okay.
Ah.
This is Spot.
Cthulhu.
Okay.
Mhm.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
There. That is Spot. Spot is Cthulhu-ish, obviously. I have a red one. Spot is a trans woman, and partner Wash is a trans man. And then
And the camera
And there
and
goes the
the
camera.
video. And there goes the video again. Then there goes hashtag hippies.
okay, your default microphone has changed.
Can hear you.
There. Okay.
Mhm.
I hate Zoom sometimes. Okay.
Yeah.
This is. Can I do it?
Yeah, we did sort of see it. It's like a tiger.
Well, it's not just 8. Okay. There we go. That's a little better anyway.
Yeah.
This is obviously Hobbs.
Tigger.
Yes.
No, not Tigger. Hobbs. Okay.
Mhm.
Although maybe that's his nom de plume. Okay.
Mhm.
It's one of my other obsessions. I have the entire 10-year run 4-volume boxed set, hardcover set of Calvin and Hobbes.
Calvin and Hobbes is the best.
Mhm.
Huh?
Calvin and Hobbes is the best.
Right. And so I read it, I read it like 2 to 3 times a year. Okay. So there's no situation in the world that I cannot relate to a Calvin and Hobbes strip. Okay. But obviously, they don't make plushies or, lunchboxes or whatever, because Bill Watterson said, no, fuck you ain't doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
At the time, they owned the rights. This is like a year or 2 into it. They owned the rights and they could have forced it, but he would have quit and then gone public with it, which is very rare for Bill Watterson because he's a very private individual.
Oh yeah.
But they finally backed down, okay, which is good. But so a friend of mine made that for me. All these are handmade, okay. And the thing about that is that God, I hate my fucking brain. Where was I going with this? Talking about Calvin and Hobbes, okay, and Hobbes. Oh,
yeah.
If Bill Watterson decided, what is today, Sunday? If Bill Watterson decided tomorrow, okay, Monday morning, 8 o'clock Monday morning, that he was going to allow them, because he owns the rights now, so he was going to license Calvin and Hobbes. I'm sure that he would be a probably close to 50 or more millionaire by Friday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If he'd gone the Jim Davis route and become a complete piece of shit who made worthless comics, then yeah.
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 And like I said, he would become a billionaire, but multi-millionaire within 4 or 5 days. But the philosophy, because it's Calvin and Hobbes, okay, concepts that are expressed in there is clearly for adults as well as kids. But like everybody knew, all the fans knew, when Calvin made friends with Rosalind, the babysitter, we knew something was up. This is like 9.5 years.
That's the end.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. And so, and then also still chokes me up a little bit to think about it. The baby raccoon story, I won't go into that, but it is about the death of an individual animal. And he got more mail from that particular story arc than anything he ever did for Calvin and Hobbes. And then it's like a couple of years later, he approached Stephen Pettis, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, who does Pearls Before Swine,
Oh yes.
Mm.
and said, do you want to let me come in and do your artwork, your strip for 3 days?
Mm-hmm.
That would be like if you played guitar and they were both alive, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Jimi Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan come to you and saying, hey, I want to play guitar on your album for free.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely phenomenal. And Steven went just nuts over it.
Mm-hmm.
Great concept and whatever, and they kind of went back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But people were like, oh my God, he's coming back. He's coming. No, he's not. But he did
Yeah.
do a book after
Mm-hmm.
that. Completely different characters and whatever, but I need to get that book. So
Yeah.
get that. But I'm going to go too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. We should end the show.
Mind me hitting up a little bit of ad before I go?
Oh no,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I was gonna go to you to
Okay.
like plug your show.
We always
plug
do that.
what you're doing. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so my nom de plume is the Celtic Kitchen, not chicken.
Mhm.
I am my name is Maeve. Okay, MEABH, which the medical personnel I had to deal with the last week were like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and finally I told the surgeon. Okay, I said, it's hard enough with the first name. I said, let alone the rest of it. And he said, what is the rest of it? And I said, Maeve Shwana Clucker. He's like, what? I said, first of all, O'Clocker is the non-anglicized form of O'Connor. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I took it, it's not the only one. One of the reasons I took it is Sinead O'Connor or Shuhada Sadaka, after she was Muslim, had a huge influence on my life. Her and Karen Carpenter are the hands down the two favorite artists I've ever listened to. Karen Carpenter in the 70s got me through abuse and some other stuff. Anyway, so that's my name, okay, Maeve. But I go by the Celtic Kitchen. I have a Facebook page, the Celtic Kitchen. It's blah 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 Facebook, okay, at the Celtic Kitchen 1960, okay. And YouTube is _Celtic_Kitchen. I do 4 clips a week. I haven't done any since last Monday, I believe it was, because of my upcoming surgery, whatever. And then after that, and there's a lot of other stuff going on in my life. But I'm hoping today's Sunday, right? Yeah. So
yeah,
the clips are going to be Tuesday through Friday, and then the live show on Saturday. And I cover 2 of the clips each week because there's 4 clips. 2 of the clips each week I do Irish food, mostly Irish food. Thank you for the links.
Yeah.
2 of the clips I do Irish food. 2 of the clips I do Irish lore or history or art or music or whatever. I've done everything from the Irish deities, top 10 Irish deities, to top 5 places to visit in Ireland, all kinds of stuff. I've also done like how to make Irish coffee, and you have to have cold cream, and you have to have a spoon, because if you don't have a spoon, you can't make it right. It's on a clip on my channel. But then on Saturdays at 3 p.m., I do a live show. This coming Saturday, the 9th, I'll be doing a live show. I will be covering a particular, it didn't start in Ireland, but it was sort of made famous by Ireland. Okay, that's not potatoes.
Yeah.
Because potatoes
of course
aren't
it
made
is.
up in Ireland either. Okay. But this started in Africa. Over 8,000 years ago. And I will be covering how to make that and how to make that on the cheap, because you can make it, but it usually costs like $400 or $500. I know how to tell you how to do it for about $30.
Okay.
And I made 2 or 3 different varieties, and I'm making them off and on since like 1987, like 25 years, whatever, something like that. And then I don't know what position. I don't know what musician I'm going to cover yet, but so there's always Irish jokes. Okay. I'll run real quick and then I'm done. Okay. So it's Celtic Kitchen. Okay?
Yeah.
Everywhere is a Celtic Kitchen. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok. So an Irishman walks into a bar in Schuberg's, which is a local bar here. Okay. And he goes up to the bartender and he says, hey, bartender, I'm new to the town. All right. And so what I want to do as a friendly thing is I want to buy a round of drinks for everyone in the bar. And of course, everybody cheers at that, And he says, and I want to buy 3 Guinness for me. And the bartender says, why do you want to buy 3 Guinness? He says, well, I got 2 brothers in Ireland. Okay. One's in County Cork and the other is in County Connaught. And they're getting on in years like me, you know, they're not twin brothers, but they're pretty close. And so I'm drinking to their health. Bartender's like, cool, as long as you're paying for it, cool. Okay. So he does this for 7 weeks in a row, because I'm shortening the joke. Does this for 7 weeks in a row. And every weekend he comes in and he's buying around the drinks for everybody, one for himself and one for his 2 brothers. So he comes in that 8th weekend and he walks up to the bar, and of course they know him by now. His name is Seamus, of course. He walks up to the bar. St. Patrick's is not that Irish, fuck him. But he walks up to the bar and he says, bartender, I want a round of drinks for everyone, and I want 2 Guinness for me. And the whole bar falls silent. And the bartender says, look, man, you know, Seamus, you've been coming in here. You've had a lot of fun with us. We've had a lot of fun with you. I'm really sorry. My condolences. I'm really sorry for your loss. And Seamus is like, what are you talking about? He says, you know, you come in here every weekend or every Sunday. Okay. And you buy drinks for everybody else, and one for you, and one for your 2 brothers for their health. He goes, no, my brothers are fine. I quit drinking.
Oh yeah. And the camera ran out again, but that's fine. We're in the show, and like Isaiah Taylor, I'm sure that he would like for all of you to also check out like his Instagram, Galactic Cosplay Crafts, for like photos of like the various other things that like he does, costumes or models that he's working on as well too. Probably can like try to find him on like Facebook if you want to. And our friend Owen McDonald also has like a YouTube channel that he's been like resurrected, that's doing more videos and like more live streams. He did like a live stream. Well, he did a live stream with me and the old friends of ours like Tanglin and Lonely Wolf on like talking about the lesson, but also done like some live streams with like Soul Bunny and many other awesome people as well too. So go check out Owen McDonald's like channels as well. I'm Summer Geek on Blue Sky, Tumblr, Twitter, Threads, and on my and on YouTube and like Twitch. I'm not gonna be streaming right away after this like call, because I actually am going to like my step nephew's like a birthday party at like 4. So I'll be streaming later tonight after like I get home from like that. Maybe we're going to be playing more Fortnite because it is a new season. John Brockman, you're part of another podcast, aren't you?
Yes, Dungeons and Debacles. We haven't been able to record for a month because our DM's house was flooded by Hurricane Helene, and he lost his internet. He got his internet back, but then he got sick. Shit happens. So, but hopefully we'll be able to pick back up soon. It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Very different from this.
Except
that I'm there, so.
I have a one-liner joke for you, and then I'm done. Okay. Joke/riddle. Okay. What do you call a plant that the Irish, and most of the world, but the Irish consider really, really, really good luck, and a very long, what's the difference between a plant that the Irish consider really, really good luck and a very long bread knife?
What?
The first is a 4-leaf clover.
Mm-hmm.
The second is a 4-loaf cleaver. All right. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It was awesome. Meeting Owen was also cool.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of good combos and stuff when, you know, I let you guys get a word in edgewise. So I'm heading out. Peace out. Thank you.
Later.
Bye.
And bye. And don't forget to check out Cherry Leaks Up page. Don't forget to take care of yourselves as well too. No, we'll say goodbye later on.
Bye-bye, everybody.